Fate is called as such, for it cannot be changed, nor can it be reversed. It can only but be accepted.
How's it going, everybody? Hey there, Kanai. Milan, welcome. How's everybody doing tonight?
Fate is called as such, for it cannot be changed, nor can it be reversed. It can only but be accepted.
Just stand by with me here just 1 minute. I'm trying to get my chat side working properly. Alright. Oh no. Well, good luck with those, Fly at Night. How's it going? I'm gonna say just, or I don't know if it's just or g first. But welcome. I appreciate it, Michael Chow. Thank you. How's everybody doing tonight? Good on your end. Listening while making burritos. I actually had burritos for dinner tonight, so you have chosen wisely. Deciding if you should do some last-minute pulls on Venti. Yeah, I got my last-minute pulls on Venti yesterday. I managed to get a C1 for him, so I got the triple shot now. That's really nice to have. That was really the only constellation I cared about. Yeah, the Venti banner is going to be gone soon. I don't think we have a whole lot of time left. I think it expires... Oh, God, sometime... Oh, yeah, 21 hours. So we should be seeing... I think the expectation is that Klee will be replacing it. I don't know that I've put eyes on any official reports for that, but I think that's generally what everybody's expecting, because that's been the way it went through all the betas. Yeah, it's 21 hours out. I was really surprised that I got a second Venti for the C1. I really was, because it wasn't even on pity, so I was really, like, that shocked me. I think I was like 2 rolls short of pity.
Written in the stars.
Alright, these guys are shooting me so much right now. Alright, that guy can go sit over there. Yeah, things are definitely a little bit thicker in World Level 5. Damn, can't get Venti, don't have enough Primo Gems. I have enough to, like, I'm kind of sitting on a little bit right now. Like, after I got my C1 Venti, I was kind of not sure if I wanted to use any more of them on that banner. I'm kind of torn between just rolling on the standard, because I really want to get a Skyward Atlas so I can do some Skyward Atlas tests, but at the same time, I don't know. I might try to get Klee. I haven't really decided what I want to do with it yet. Venti definitely fits a lot of roles very nicely, though. It's the one thing to keep in mind. And he'll be very, very useful in the Spiral Abyss, especially at some of the lower and then the level 9 floors. He does fit into those really nicely. Any of the floors that have a lot of small enemies, Venti's gonna perform very well. How's it going, Zvolvik? It's going good here. How about yourself? Do I plan on doing pulls in the next banner? Probably. I haven't decided for sure, but it's probable. Do I have C6 official? The difference between C5 and 6 is enormous. No, I have C5. I have a friend who has a C6 official, but I do not. Oh, that's gonna hurt. Oh, no, got out of it. But yeah, generally speaking, I'm told that that the C6 official does make a big difference for her. And I do want to get it, but I just haven't had much luck in that arena right now. Because I do use official periodically as a support for Mona. If you're new to the channel, oh, hang on. That kind of hurt. New to the channel, already watched some of the vids. You like the vid about Lumine and Aether. And you'd like the vid about what we know about Tevat. There's a vid about Leeway and Monster. Yep, those were actually my really early videos. But I'm glad you took a look at them. For the most part, they're still accurate. The what we know about Tevat video is getting a little outdated at this point. I'm gonna need to do an update on that. I'm kind of thinking that video is gonna end up becoming a series, I think, with time, where I update it every, 6 months or something like that, if we have story updates that would warrant such changes. Okay, I guess you can just, kill Baidal. That's cool. I didn't need her anyway. God, he's doing this forever. Alright, you can stop raining Geo now. There we go. Alright, that should do it. Aw, come on.
Written in the stars. Let me scribe.
Can't wait for more lore in the game. Have a favorite wild theory or anything? Maybe one I haven't made of it. Yeah, I have quite a few that I'm working on right now. That they're mostly in very preliminary right now, but I've got quite a few that I'm working on. But they're my slowest timetable for release, my my theory videos, because they take a lot of research for me to go ahead and get them out, because I don't like to, even really push on them if I don't have enough supportive lore for them. I have ideas from the previous one that I ended up scrapping just because I didn't have enough supporting information for them. But yeah, so I've got quite a few others that are kind of in the tank right now. And then right now I'm working on a new lore video for Sucrose, which, if all goes well, will be up tomorrow. It's really close, but it's just not quite done yet. It's better to have your deck centered around a certain element. Oh, I need to get away from that. You use Mona and Kaya and Fischl, or is it better to have your team have a variety of elements? So you want to have some backup elements for sure. I generally try to make sure that I have, you know, a strong central team that I can count on for most content. However, there's definitely going to be, I'm not dodging very well tonight. There's definitely going to be content where your base team, if you have it focused on a specific character, you're not going to be able to clear it unless you have some backup characters. And so you'll run into some, you know, minor issues. So you want to have some backup characters, especially, you know, if you want to try to get through the Spiral Abyss. There's no way you won't be exploring other options there. Will I make a vid if there will be a new region area? Yes, I absolutely will be making a new video for each new region as they release. So basically, as soon as I can get enough of the information together for a new region, yeah, I'll push it immediately. So pretty much like once the new region comes out, I'll probably play through the entire story arc, find any new books that they have out that will help to facilitate the backstory for it, and once I have a good understanding of it, I'll begin writing something for it. What made me want to start the channel, or start a channel about Teyvat? So at that time, it was before I had actually ever even played the game. So basically, I had seen quite a few trailers about it, and I started to realize, I started reading the manga, and that was a really big dive for me. I started to get into that. This isn't too bad item. But yeah, so I started to get into the manga, and once I finished reading that, I realized how much backstory they had built in for Teyvat, and it seemed like they were really going the distance to write interesting characters, not just, you know, like an overall story, but they took time with each of the characters, and the more time I invested in reading the manga, I read it a second time almost right away, and then I started to look up beta gameplay footage and stuff, and the more I saw of it, the more I realized that, you know, like, this game's actually got something behind it. I had already had a little experience playing Honkai Impact 3rd, so I kind of had a little bit of an indication of what, you know, story writing would be like from MiHoYo, but I didn't get too far into that game. I don't remember exactly how high a level I was. It was far enough. But yeah, I kind of ended up obsessed with it, and realized that I really was learning quite a lot about the lore, and I kind of wanted to share it with everybody, what I was figuring out, because there wasn't really anybody talking about it. So I started getting to work on it. If there is or what elemental region would I like to see next? I would like to see Inazuma next. I really would. I really am very interested in seeing what that region has going for it. I think I do believe Inazuma would be Electro, and I think even more so than just seeing a new region, I'm really interested to see what Electro as an element would do for the Traveler. So I think that would be the region I'm most interested in seeing right now. What build do I currently have on Mona? She's attacking critical at the moment. Compared to last week, I've had a couple of nice upgrades for her. So she is currently level 80, and her Solar Pearl is also level 80. If you didn't know, the weapons you get from the Battle Pass very gradually change appearance the higher level they get. So this one's starting to get like a lot of like darker details on it now. If you go and you look at the item and its base level, it's pretty much just flat gold. So there's that. As for artifacts, currently 2-piece Gladiator and 2-piece Berserker, and together those are producing some pretty nice stats. So currently her attack is just shy of 1500, but that doesn't really matter because she has 83% crit and 70% crit damage. She's also got 152% energy recharge with a 65% boost on her Hydra bonus damage, so it results in her hitting pretty hard. Thanks for making the Diluc official lore videos. They were very entertaining, and your 2 faves. Well, thank you, Hoodie. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I've got my Sucrose video coming out hopefully tomorrow, so hopefully you'll enjoy that one. It's I think I've had more fun working on it than I have with any other video I've made thus far. From the teaser trailer, the one that gave previews of future regions, which one do you think is going to be my favorite? Sumeru Ancient Egypt theme does look dope. Yes, it does. Actually, so as interested as I am in Inazuma, Sumeru is, I think, probably the region I think that might be the most interesting. I know that there's so some of the backstory that we know about Sumeru, there's some kind of shady things going on there, and so Lisa's character spent a lot of time there when she was younger, learning, how to be a mage and all that stuff, and she went, she went to get her education there, but she witnessed something that changed her at a pretty deep level, and whatever that was, she has never been the same, and she came back with a significantly reduced work ethic, kind of one of those things where it's just like she just gave up on the world. So I'm very curious to find out what that was. I think that's one of the other things that I'm really most excited about for this game as a whole, is just kind of seeing where they continue to progress these characters that they've introduced. I'm really quite interested in where they're going to go with them. How do I raise my crits on those numbers? You mean the crit rate or the crit damage? Most of it, so the Solar Pearl on its own has high crit at 25% at level 80. And then, the Berserker is 12% for that set bonus. But I do have 10% crit rate on my Feather. And I have 7.4% on the Flower, and I have damage. I also have damage 13.2 on the Flower, and also have crit damage 6% on my Timepiece. And then I have a crit rate Berserker's Mask, which is also boosting her energy recharge primarily. If I could get a better one of these, I probably would replace it so that I, have more beneficial, like substats like attack or crit rate as opposed to energy recharge, because it doesn't scale quite as good as those do, but we'll see how things progress. What if he just marries his sister at the end? I don't think that's going to happen. Fun, thank you, I appreciate it. I'm glad you like the scale. I'll be working on it again this week. Can you get the energy back before your ulti comes back off cooldown? Frequently, yes. I've definitely had a lot of instances with Mona where her ult is recharged before the cooldown comes back. Especially when I go co-op with one of my friends. He has a pretty nice Diluc that he has set up, and whenever we're playing together, I very frequently have my ult again before the cooldown is set. Will I make a guide about different characters like Kaya, Diluc, Kuching, and Chi-Chi? If you mean character builds, it's probable in time I will get around to doing builds for characters who I don't currently have. I do have a lot of knowledge about how to build them, but what's more likely in the near future is that I'm going to do a build video for the roles, not specific characters. So if you want to do, if you're looking for a build for a lead DPS, then these would be the builds. And if you're looking for a primary supporter, then this would be the build. Or there are a couple of characters that I really feel only have one build that you should put on them. Characters like Jean or Barbara, I really think that they have just one main build, but there's a lot of characters that kind of flex role where you can build them as a primary or a secondary, or a primary or secondary DPS, or even a support. So there's other situations that you could build for. Do we get any more interactions with our sibling like when we saw them interact with the Abyss Mage? Haven't fully completed. No. So right now, that one interaction that you saw at the end of the Storm Terror questline is the only time we've seen her actually in the game, outside of the trailer that MiHoYo put out last month. Builds and gameplay guides are what you're talking about. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I'm probably going to be doing, is like a roles guide, as opposed to just like a flat like build guide for every character. Now, that said, I am going to be doing some build guides for specific characters, and I do have one I'm planning to do for Mona. And that's also going to be revolving around some of the data that I got last weekend for the Solar Pearl during my live stream. But I haven't finished that yet because I've been working on the lore video this week, but I will be getting back to that after I get my next scale installation completed. So that is my plan for that. I'm also working on upgrading the Royal Grimoire for Mona, so I can do some tests as to whether or not that weapon is better than the Solar Pearl. Some people think that it will be. I'm not sure. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But you know, the numbers don't lie, so we'll find out when I start testing it with various setups as well. And then after that, I'm really trying to get a Skyward Atlas so that I can also put up test numbers for the Skyward Atlas as well, and that way, you know, we will have a good idea between the Solar Pearl, the Eye of Perception, the Royal Grimoire, and the Skyward Atlas, what weapons will be best in which situations and what combinations that you would want to use those in. That's kind of what my main goal is right now, is to fully explore all of the mage weapons, so that so that we all have a good idea of which one's going to be best for what characters and what builds. Is it possible to make Noelle a DPS? So, you can build Noelle as a DPS. I, however, have her set up as a hybrid. So, I'm still working on her because I need her for the Spiral Abyss to be a little bit punchier than she is right now. But right now, I actually have 5 gladiator pieces on her right now, and they're all defense, but I'm still working on leveling them up and leveling her up, but I don't really have a great deal of materials on hand right now to kind of finish pushing her through. But if you want to make her effective as a healer and effective defensively as she is designed, but still get good damage out of her, gladiator 4-piece bonus is the way to go. How's it going, Anita? Welcome back tonight. Is there a theory about Zhang Li as Rex Lapis? There's several theories going around about him being Rex Lapis, and I actually do believe that one to be true. And I'm more than likely going to be doing a theory video on that in the near-ish future, because I definitely would want to get to it before they go ahead and make more story that will either prove or deny that already. There's not much point in theorizing something that's been revealed, so I do want to make a theory video on it. I've got some like preliminary thoughts pretty much written down about how I want to go about doing that, but I've got several theory videos that I'm working on, so it's kind of a juggling act of how and when I can get them put out. Sacrificial fragments. I'm not sure. Hang on, I think I might have missed something. I'm not sure what you mean, Carrion, about sacrificial fragments. If you could specify. Why don't make anime? I don't know. I think they may in time. Zhang Li may or may not be Rex, just one of his so-called adepti bodies. So I do think that he's known for changing forms. Like, this is an established thing in the lore of the game. So yeah, he very really could be Rex Lapis, and he's just, hiding out for now. And I really do think that is what he's doing. I think that he's, not to blow out too much of what I'm thinking for my future theory, but I suspect what's happened is he knew that the Harbingers were coming for him, and he faked his own death. That's pretty much what I think happened. Because if you're the oldest Archon, it probably is fair to assume that you've got a good sense of if there are gears in motion to work against you, and so after they got after they got Venti's Gnosis, he probably was aware of that. Maybe even Venti let him know, and by the time the Traveler got there, he had already moved to his next vessel, which is, I suspect, Zhongli. And Zhongli has a very otherworldly attitude about him. He really seems to know everything about the world as if a person who's weathered the ages, but at the same time is kind of naive to kind of the day-to-day necessities of the world, like especially money. So, you know, to me that suggests a person who's out of place. If they make an anime about Genshin, I would watch it. Yeah, I definitely would. Absolutely. Could it be that Zhongli and Ningguang planned his death together? Actually, I do think that that is what happened, and I think that I definitely think that Ningguang is in on it, because I don't suspect that she's actually the villain that the story's kind of making her out to be. I think that's kind of, you know, supposed to be like the twist reveal later. And of course, if you've reached the end of the main story, you know that the last thing that happened was that Ningguang invited you to the Jade Chamber to talk with her about whatever's been going on, so we'll see exactly what happens there. Oh man, I can't get any of these guys right now. Oh man, this is gonna be bad. Oh, I can't see what's happening at all. Okay, that did not go super great. Oh, gotta get out of there.
Time for takeoff. Yahoo!
Oh, come on. Come on, shoot me before this blows up. Oh man, that did not feel good. Yeah, see, I got Mona's ult and I just used it. Alright, so who's Death Rix? Lapis? Yeah, that's who I was talking about. I've been trying Solar Pearl, right? How do I like it for Mona? I think that the Solar Pearl is definitely her best weapon that I have right now. I do have the Royal Grimoire, but it's not level 80 yet, so I can't conduct a fair test. And once I get the Royal Grimoire, I'm going to do it as a test with both a full crit build and a straight attack build to kind of see which one works better. Also worth noting, the Royal Grimoire also changes appearance as you level it up, because when you get it at level 1, it's black, and I'm noticing now at 60 that it is blue. But yeah, it's a focus weapon, so it increases your crit rate by 8% up to 5 stacks, so basically it just increases your crit rate until you crit. And yeah, so I've actually noted that when you get those crit stacks, it applies to your crit rate directly, so you can actually see it on your score sheet while the buff is on. So that'll make it a lot easier for me to do tests with it under fair conditions. Yeah, that fight was a little rough. I'm glad that it didn't go worse. Yeah, the Royal Grimoire should be effective, and I do have some experience using the Royal Grimoire. So my previous Mona build in the beta test that I had with her, I used that as her primary weapon, and it worked very, very well. Right now, I kind of suspect that the Pearl is going to outperform it, but that's just speculation. It might actually lose. Time will tell. The Lantern Rite trailer shows a blue Adeptus, similar to Mooncarver. Is this Zhao in his animal form, perhaps? Not sure if beta testers know the answer to this. No, I don't know. So that was actually, when they did the Lantern Rite Festival, that was in CBT 2. That was actually before I ever got my first access to the game. So I actually don't know if that was actually intended to be Zhao or not. I kind of suspect that it's not, because in the trailer he's actually just watching it when it lights up. But it could be. You know, there's a lot of mysteries about how the Adepti work, really. There's a lot of things we don't know about them. And they've, you know, since release, they've added a good amount of new stuff about them as well, because there's a good chunk of Adepti cutscenes that were not in the beta before release. How would I rate the Lost Prayer to the Sacred Winds from Mona? Lost Prayer to the Sacred Winds. You're going to have to remind me what that one is, Oreo. I'm not sure if I know that one off the top of my head. What's I assume that's a weapon. What stats are carried on that? What to do in AR35. You've heard that in AR35 you get a free character. Is that true? No, you don't get any free characters at AR35, unfortunately. Bowden. Seen a post on the official Genshin Facebook noting that Mona is still bugged. What are my thoughts? So I know that she does have one bug that is kind of irritating, and that is if you use her ultimate on Whopper flowers, you cannot attack them. So that's pretty annoying. Like, you can't even swap characters and hit them. It doesn't do anything until they hit the ground and the omen disappears. So you lose the entire benefit of the ultimate. There are instances where you can get them with her ult, but if you just try to use it when they're not already CC'd to receive it, then it will not stick. That's the only bug I'm aware of on her. I know that there's some argument as to whether or not her omen buff is actually being applied correctly at this point. But I don't... Honest to goodness, like, it still, to me, feels very much as it was when I played it in the beta, so I don't really think that it's bugged outside of the issue with the Whopper flowers. Oh, that's gonna hurt. Yep. Okay, I need to hit one target. Ah, I knew that was gonna happen. Fine, let me get rid of this guy first. The Venti ult completely whiffed. Unfortunate. Alright, I'm just gonna leash this guy off because I'm gonna be plucking at him forever with that shield since I don't have a fire or a cryo. So I'm gonna fix that problem. And come back at him. Let me get out of reach of these enemies so I can respond to some of you guys. Alright, that should do it. Can I add you on Discord? My Discord name is Small Aoju. So I'm actually going to be creating, or I'm actually already working on an official Discord for my channel, and I'm hoping to have it ready by next weekend. Yeah, so look for it next week, and we can talk there. Listed weapons for mages, sacrificial fragments is the one that has a chance to reset cooldown and adds elemental mastery. So resets cooldown and adds elemental mastery is it's a weapon designed for support characters. So if you're trying to build a mage as a support, that will work well. Since, you know, support characters are generally revolving around using their elemental burst or elemental skill as frequently as possible, so that will help lean you into a build that does that. If you're trying to use it on a character that is your primary DPS, however, expect less success with that. What do I suspect the Solar Pearl will be? Why do I suspect it will be better than the Royal Grimoire? So I suspect it will be better than a Royal Grim just because your crit rate will be more reliable. So with the Royal Grimoire, you're going to be attacking, base hits until you crit, and then it resets again. So, it's you're playing RNG a little heavier that way. Now, I could be wrong, and it could, the law of averages could still, show up and change things, and it could end up being better. In my experience, it's very good. I don't know, there's just something about this Battle Pass weapon that just makes me think that, like, MiHoYo's not going to put this thing in the game if it's not better than some of the other options. I don't know. There's something nagging me about it probably being better. I could be completely wrong, but we'll see. Like I said, I just got to finish getting it leveled up, and on, I think it's Monday or Tuesday, I should be able to, oh, come on, he got his shield up right before. But yeah, I think it's Tuesday. I should be able to farm the materials to get it leveled up, and then I'm going to do some tests on it next week. And then I'm going to press on with the Mona guide, build guide after that. And then at some point, whenever I get a Skyward Atlas, I will do a update to that and explore the benefits of the Skyward Atlas versus whichever one wins this next round of tests. Okay. Started playing a week ago. You've decided you're going to be free to play. Is there any realistic chance that you can get a 5-star? Yeah. Yeah, I have a couple of friends who are free-to-play who have managed to get 5 stars. One of them got Kuching on his Noelle banner, which was pretty crazy. And the other one re-rolled 3 times. I don't really recommend re-rolling because MiHoYo's official stance is that it's discouraged. And it also kind of convolutes their process of eliminating the account sellers. So it's really just adding to a problem that exists. But I have a friend who I could not talk out of it, and he got Kuching as well from his rerolls, and then he did it again and got Jean. So now he's having a problem deciding which account he wants to use. But yeah, you can definitely get 5 stars. It does happen. And there's enough roles in the game if you stick to one banner as a free-to-play player that you'll hit pity if you just stick to one. So if you stick to the general banner, you'll get it eventually, even if your luck is bad on the way there. What did I do between AR 35 and 40? You pretty much hit a wall and don't want to use your fragile resin until 40. So I feel like... So I did use my fragile resin quite a bit between 35 and 40 because I was trying to, keep leveling, keep moving so that I could continue to test things, but at the same time also not hit that wall. I wanted to get to level 36 so that I could do the Venti story because I was very, very interested to see where that was going to go, and that did not disappoint. And then beyond that, I pretty much picked the world clean for chests so that there wasn't anything left. Yeah, because I very rarely find chests anymore. So that was another one of my main focuses, but yeah, I kind of feel like if you're gonna wait to use all your fragile resin until 40, I mean, yeah, you'll get a lot of equipment quickly, I guess, if you do that at 40, but your road to 40 is gonna definitely be stretched out. It's gonna be a little bit more painful. Oh, this guy's cryo, not hydro. I'm using the wrong element on him. Alright, I gotta kill this guy over here first.
Decided by destiny. Shadows of fate.
You know what? Just go over there. Oh, how did he not die from that? I'm struggling with these two. This cryo guy is a problem. There we go. Picked up the lion's roar. I will respond to some more questions here in just a second. These guys are much easier if you kill them before they get their shields up. Oh my god. There we go. And then if you don't have the right elements to kill them quickly, you just kind of stagnate against them. Okay. Hello, new sub. Welcome, Anime Gamer. Thanks for stopping in tonight. You think there's going to be more of the Genshin manga? Read it yesterday after hearing about it. I do think that... so the English version of the manga is missing 3 issues still. You can go and see them on the official Chinese website, but it's obviously not translated. But you can kind of piece together what happened, or you can also run it through Google Translate and get a rough translation. It's worth a shot. I don't know why they've waited so long to push the English version over here, though. I'm excited for when they do, though. I'm very interested to see how the dialogue actually translates. Would I recommend Rain Slasher or Prototype Animus for Baidal? Remind me what the bonus is on Rain Slasher, Blues. Prototype Animus is not a bad weapon for Baidal at all, especially if you're wanting to push her as a primary or secondary DPS. And it's easy to get refinements on, which also helps. It's the one I use on my Chongyun for now, but I've been thinking about replacing it on him since he is actually a support, not a secondary for me. At which point I'll probably swap it to Sacrificial Claymore or something, which I believe I have that on my Noelle at the moment, I think.
Give me a moment to compose myself.
It's the other 5-star book, Crit Rate %, and the skill you get increases movement speed by 10% when in battle. Gain 8% elemental damage bonus every 4 seconds, up to max 4 stacks. You know, the bonuses on that Oreo are kind of all over the place. So crit rate % is good, but increased movement speed is, I don't know, kind of so-so, especially if you're putting it on a primary DPS like Mona. She's already really fast anyways. 8% elemental damage bonus every 4 seconds. It doesn't sound bad to me, but the stats on that they seem like such an afterthought to me. I suspect the Skyward Atlas would outperform that weapon. I don't know. I would have to do some testing with that. Elemental damage bonus is handy in certain situations, but one thing to remember about elemental damage as opposed to straight attack is if you're fighting an enemy who has kind of a predisposition to be strong against your element, like for instance Hydro against Cryo kind of is an unfavorable matchup, you end up in these scenarios where you're not doing very much damage if you lean too heavily into a specific element as opposed to just leaning on attack. So that weapon would intensify that particular issue with a character such as Mona or any of the other mages. Let's see. Carpand Smirgle. Hello, about Historia Scale. Some people I showed Mona vid have expressed doubt about normal DPS charts such as Chongyun above Razor. So all of the tests that I've done for these characters were done with all characters at the same level against the same enemy, wearing no equipment except for the same weapon or same weapon type. And yeah, he outproduced Razor in base attack. So like as far as normal attack is concerned, that's what was produced in those tests. Now, before I get to my scale on Razor, there may be some adjustments on how that's going to work, because one of the most potent strategies for a character like Razor is to keep his elemental burst up at a frequency to where his normals are just almost always affected. So I have to take that into account somewhere in here, which may result in Razor outperforming Chongyun in the scale. So don't get too hung up on the charts just yet. There are some things that can play. Like for instance, if you look at the elemental burst chart, Fischl is dead last on there. Her elemental burst does not do very much damage, but its purpose is to bring Oz back onto the field, and Oz is actually the top of the elemental skills list. So I kind of have to work a weight in there so that there's actually an intuitive relationship between the elemental burst and the normals that they affect, or an elemental burst and the elemental skills that they impact. So before those character scales actually get released, know that there's going to be some math done in there to make sure that they get a fair shake. So don't just sit there and expect that they're going to get a 1 here for this, or that one character is going to beat another just because of what you're seeing on there. There sometimes is additional math that has to be done behind the scenes. And that way they actually do get a fair comparison for what the character is intended to do. Is Venti banner going to disappear, or is it going to stay without the summoning rates up? The Venti banner should be disappearing. That's pretty much what everybody's anticipating right now. It could stick around with no rate up, and then we just move on to Klee, but I don't think so. And I think from the previous beta tests, it just disappeared and was replaced with the next rate up. Which area in game has my favorite soundtrack? Bonus points for Joeun Karst. So I really do. I feel like Liyue is my favorite region as a whole for the music in the game right now. There's some really great tracks in Mondstadt though. For instance, everything in Stormterror's lair is amazing, especially the actual battle music against Stormterror himself. The battle music there is very impactful, but the basic battle music in Liyue is probably one of my favorite tracks in the game. It's a really nice one. Am I pulling for Klee if she is next banner? Probably. Right now, I'm kind of on the fence about what I want to do with that. I've got kind of mixed priorities on how I want to handle that. So, on one hand, I'm in this kind of awkward dance where I'm having trouble upgrading the Royal Grimoire, but at the same time, I want to also get the Skyward Atlas and upgrade that, and then, you know, report to everyone which one of these weapons is going to perform the best. Because right now, there's kind of a, you know, a three-way argument going on between, you know, the Solar Pearl and the Royal Grimoire and the Skyward Atlas as to which one's going to be the best in the long term. And, you know, you certainly don't want to find yourself getting a 5-star weapon and then not using it. So I do suspect that the Skyward Atlas is going to be the best. But right now, you know, only time will tell. And then there's also, you know, another factor to take into consideration, that an item like the Solar Pearl, if you continue to pay for your battle pass and finish it every month, or get to level 30 on it every month, you'll eventually max refine that. Whereas a weapon like the Skyward Atlas, you may never max refine or even get a second refinement on it at all if you're not lucky. So there's a lot of different factors kind of in there. What weapon am I running on Venti? I'm running the Stringless on Venti. My Venti build is basically built straight Elemental Mastery and Recharge so that he can use his Elemental Burst as frequently as possible. Currently sitting at 418 Elemental Mastery, which makes his hits pretty punchy. It's really nice. I've definitely gotten good use for it. And so yeah, the Stringless, I have refinement rank 2 at the moment, and it increases elemental skill and burst damage by 30%. So basically everything you want him to use will hit really hard. It's hard to just get Primo Gems as a free-to-play player. Yeah, I mean, once you've farmed out the world, you kind of hit a little bit of a stagnation point with Primo Gems for a little while, at least unless you start putting some focus into the Spiral Abyss, and that's when you'll start, you know, that's where you actually get quite a bit. But obviously there's only 12 floors there right now, so there's still even a maximum of what you can extract from that. First time watching live, loved my official lore. Thank you, I appreciate it, Waffle. Thank you so much. What's my opinion on attack percent, crit damage attack percent with Royal Weapon? Higher DPS burst than attack. So I'm assuming what you're meaning is attack percent, crit damage attack percent with Royal Weapon. So are you talking about using Royal Grimoire and then having, instead of attack across the board in your last 3 artifacts, having attack, crit damage, and then attack? So it's basically, instead of attack on all 3 of those, it's attack and crit damage and attack. Is that what you were asking, Nemoto? After Mona casts Elemental Burst, Stellaris, Phantasm, Illusory Bubble damage or explosion damage will return to normal. In addition, Illusory Bubble explosion damage will affect enemies with an omen just as other DM. So yeah, that's the basic description for Mona's, for her Elemental Burst. And right now, you can definitely feel that there is a difference. So like if you use that ultimate, you pop the bubble on them, you're still getting bonus damage, because you'll notice when it drops off afterwards. I do think that that skill is working correctly. The Amos bow good on Fischl. I want to say Amos bow is attack, isn't it? I believe it's straight attack. Or is it Elemental Mastery? I think I can just go look at it. It's a weapon I do not currently have. No, I can't actually pull the stats on that from this window. I wish you could. I wish they would make it to where you can pull the stats on this window. You'll have to remind me what the main stat is on the Amos bow. I think it's attack. If Fischl is your primary DPS and it's attack, then yeah, it will work for you. So what do I think about all the dragons that are said to be trapped around the map? There's one trapped in Cor Lapis and one trapped under a tree. So yeah, the big orange tree in Liyue is said to have a large dragon trapped underneath it, and there's like a large, like amber composite around it. It's an interesting story on it, and it could just be that. It could just be, storytelling within the world, and there's actually no actual substance to it, but there actually could be some truth to that. I think that if there is, and that MiHoYo's probably intending to do something with it at some point where somebody awakens them and we end up having to fight them, or maybe Dvalin will have to show up and save the day or something, which could be really interesting. I have a strong suspicion that Dvalin's still going to have some part to play in the overall story of the game before things are over. I just hope that we don't end up with some kind of self-sacrifice moment for Dvalin. That's kind of my fear for him as a character, is that he seems to want to serve Mondstadt even though he doesn't have to, and I feel like that could end up resulting in bad things for him. Okay, how did I decide on which talent to level to 7? So my Mona's kind of primarily built around main attacks, so that's why I would choose normal attacks for Mona. Hey, I don't usually use YouTube chat, but just wanted to say that I really appreciate the objective numbers analysis and subbed as a result. Looking forward to joining the Discord. Thank you for coming to the live chat. I appreciate it, and I'm glad that you have enjoyed what I've been doing with the Historia Scale. Thank you. Would Chongyun be good with Xiangling and Fischl? I do think that there's a lot of merit in the combinations between Pyro and Cryo, and also between Cryo and Electro, so I would say that yes, that combination should work well, especially if you were going to put Fischl up as your primary DPS. Hilichurls have elemental power from gods-like wielders. What do I think about it? I don't know that I've seen anything about Hilichurls directly having elemental powers. I've got some interesting thoughts on the Hilichurls, but I'm going to hold off on those for now, because I might be writing a theory video in the future about it, and I don't want to get into it too deep because it's kind of convoluted right now. Today I got a 5-star weapon and was very, very, very sad because you're free to play and you don't use a sword character in your game. Which sword did you get, Exalicado, out of curiosity? Worth mentioning, Pity does carry over from one rate-up banner to the next of its type. Does it really? I actually hadn't heard that. I thought that the rate-up Pities would terminate once that was over, but if that's not true, then that's great. That's actually something I hadn't heard. Used all your fragile resin. Yeah, I'm pretty much out of mine too. I'm definitely in the waiting for resin meme world right now. Sticking to rate-up banner is free to play. Yeah, I mean, so if you're trying to get characters, Kirk, that's definitely the way to go. You won't get a lot of depth in your weapons because you don't see 5-star weapons in the rate-up banners right now. But if you're trying to get characters and that's what you're really short on right now, then that's not a bad strategy at all. Flight Knight said, you're free to play. So far you've done about 130 rolls. That's at least one guaranteed 5-star. Personally, you've gotten 2, Jean and Venti. Yeah, you've actually had really good luck as a free-to-play player. Nice. You got Fireboy and Zombie for free, so I assume you mean Diluc and Chi-Chi. Nice. That's awesome. You just created a new account and got 2 Chungyun. Do I have some sort of build for DPS Chung? If you're trying to build Chung as a primary DPS, 4-piece Gladiator set is what I would recommend for him. Then build out your attack as much as you can. You're going to get best returns for him if he's your primary DPS by building him that way. And then whenever you pop his E, you can switch to a different character who has Elemental Mastery as your support and benefit from the reactions that persist on the field after his E is down. And then once the field goes away, you can just swap back to him and continue to DPS. I don't think the Hilichurls have elemental power. They think they may have worship beings that came before the 7. So I've got some interesting theories on, like I said, on what the Hilichurls may actually be. But they may or may not have formerly been human. I kind of feel like, I don't know how many of you guys here are Elder Scrolls fans, but I kind of am wondering if the Hilichurls are kind of like Tevat's version of the Falmer. And so I'm kind of thinking along that line, if you know what the Falmer are, as far as a possible future theory. Alright, let me see if I can catch up on the stream, because I'm definitely behind here, guys. There's a lot of comments here. I'm trying not to skip people, but there's so many comments that I'm having a hard time keeping up. Many people like Fischl, but you don't really like her backstory or aesthetic. Kanoi, oof. What you got against Fischl? She's awesome. Fischl has an amazing story, yeah, I agree. Namedo, yeah. Fischl's one of my, I mean, it's why I did her lore video so early on, is that I really, really appreciate the story that they put together for her. Fischl makes best food, 60% physical damage up. Yeah, I heard that food is really nice. Kanoi, I do have a lore video on Fischl's backstory, if you are so inclined. Shameless plug. Is Skyward Harp good for Venti or Fischl? Weapon upgrades are such a huge investment. Yes, they definitely are a huge, huge investment. Skyward Harp, I'm going to assume, is energy recharge. And so I would say, if it is, and I think it is off the top of my head, but verify for me, Park, if I'm wrong. If it is, then yes, you can get good use for that on Venti if he is a support for you. But you have to make sure to build proper elemental mastery in your artifacts to make up for the fact that you don't have it on your weapon. So it's kind of a balancing act there. If your Fischl is a support, then yes, it will work for her. But if she's primary DPS, then no, it will not. You do healer times 3 as your main team. Noelle, Barbara, and Chi-Chi. You need a 4th healer. Which would I recommend? So that's a lot of heals. Jean. Definitely Jean. If you're looking for a character like, so Jean can actually just straight up, no doubt, be used as a carry. I mean, her heals scale off attack, but she doesn't kind of hit like you're smacking enemies with wet noodles like Chi-Chi does. So, and she can also just pull everything to her and throw them in the air for falling damage, and that falling damage is quite brutal. So, yeah, you can get a lot of really, really good returns from Jean. So if you're looking to have a four healer team, Jean would be who I'd recommend to round that out. Wind MC is good, yes. Anemo MC is, if I had to choose between the 2 that are available right now, I would stay with Anemo MC. Rain Slasher is 4 stars, secondary stat, Elemental Mastery, passive is Bane of Storm and Tides. Increases damage against enemies affected by Hydro or Electro, 20%. So weapons that increase enemy damage against specific elements, this is still going to fall into that danger territory where if you're building a lot of stats into a specific element, if you lean into a specific element, then you're going to kill the ones that you're strong against really easily, but you're going to be weak against the ones that you're not strong against. So that's one of those things to make sure to keep in mind. James, I'm on the American servers. Is this a browser game? No, it's not a browser game. It's got its own PC client, but it's also available on console and on iOS and Android as well. The console that it's available on right now is PS4. It's already been announced that it will carry over to PS5. There is a Switch version in development, but it has not been released yet. All versions are cross-platform except for the, they're all cross-platform, but the PS4 is not cross-save. So if you're playing it on your PS4, you will not be able to play it on your phone or on your computer if you have those. But if you play it on your computer, you will be able to play it on your phone. It is supposed right now that the Switch will still be able to cross-save, but that's speculation. It may still have the same problem. Is Clee 5-star? Yes, she is. I'm trying to rapid fire here so I can get caught up on these, because I'm like 10 minutes behind on these comments, guys, so I'm trying to catch up. Yo, I played beta, right? What do I think about Clee? Is she worth it if you have Diluc? So that's an interesting question. Yes, she's worth it because she's one of the highest. I actually think she's probably the highest DPS overall in the game. But if you have Diluc, you have good depth in Pyro already. So is she going to be worth it to you? I don't know. I think I would think hard about not rolling for her if I already had Diluc. I really would. The biggest reason why I think I'm gonna roll on Clee is because I only have Amber and Xiangling right now, and they just don't really work for consistent Pyro reactions. So I need a good Pyro, and so I'm more than likely gonna lean on Clee for that. Let's see. Black Sword for Kuching or Solar Pearl for Ningguang really need my opinion. If you have Kuching, get the Black Sword on her. I've seen some stuff where people have just achieved ridiculous damage for Kuching using the Black Sword mana, so I would recommend doing that. 500 plus Elemental Mastery, C6 Fischl with Mona, and it makes her pretty crazy. Yeah, that sounds like it would be pretty effective. I've actually been considering swapping my Elemental Mastery build that I have on my Venti over to Fischl just to see how things go, but right now my Fischl's only C5, so I haven't really wanted to lean into her until I get that 6th constellation on her. And once I do, then she'll probably take my primary archer support role from Venti until I need him for something specific. Do I think Genshin Impact will be connected to Honkai Impact? I think it's already connected to Honkai Impact. Whether or not they actually do it directly is another matter. But I do think that there's some pretty glaring indications in the story already that the cross universe or the branches on the tree are actually real, and that the two worlds are related. Is this an MMO? Morgana, no, it's not. Yeah, Amos's attack. So going back to the previous question, with it being attack, if you're building it for a Venti or Fischl that are primary damage dealers, then yes, it will work for you. Is my Mona C2 plus? No. My Mona is unfortunately C0. She's got no constellations right now. I wish she had constellations because her C2 is amazing. Really, both her C1 and 2 are really, really good, and she's actually the character I'm most hoping to get constellations on at this point. If you have Mona, you should use her. Noelle gonna be inexpensive to invest in. Yeah, Noelle. So here's the thing, like, Noelle doesn't really compete with other characters for artifacts because she just needs defense. So for me, I just kept getting defense-oriented gladiator pieces, and it made it really easy for me to build her out. Now I'm just having to invest actual level-up enhancement materials. But I'm only doing that slowly because I only use her in the Spiral Abyss, because there's definitely a lot of good benefits for her there. Alright, I'm still trying to get caught up on these. I'm still about 10 minutes behind on these. There's so many comments. I'm gonna have to try to skip through here a little bit. Gina's Master of None, since she is support plus DPS, so she won't be the best at any role, but you can build her as anything. I'd say that's a relatively fair estimation of her performance. Definitely, Master of None is accurate, but the one thing to remember is that Jean has control over small and medium characters' positioning, so she can just blast them away from her, or throw them off cliffs, throw them in water for instant kills. So there are definitely some things that character absolutely will outperform other characters at, and she's for that reason I don't foresee myself pushing her out of my party at any juncture in the future right now, at least not on the current known roster of characters. I think I'd be much more likely to push out a character like Venti or Baidal. Baidal is pretty much just in my party because she synergizes well with Mona, but if I were to swap out to Fischl, then she would lose her slot anyways because I wouldn't need her anymore. Diluc's backstory, though, is sad and really shows why he's distant with the Knights. Yeah, his backstory is definitely surprising. And that chapter of the manga is really one of the more violent ones, really. If you look at the current presentation of story across Genshin thus far, there's not... I mean, it's... Obviously, there's conflict, but there's not really a lot of what I'd call, like, just objective violence, but that chapter definitely had some harsher violence than others. So yeah, it was definitely dark, and it shows some of the potential darkness that we have coming in the story for Genshin. And one of the things that, you know, I think it's easy to overlook is all these trailers that they've been releasing in tandem to the game that are not actually part of the game directly, but they're canonical. And then so we have this trailer about the twins that came out recently. And you know, in this trailer, it talks about how the sister was, you know, dispatched to find the Genesis Pearl, and she was at some point deceived into thinking that she's the queen of the Dark Kingdom or the Kingdom of Darkness, but she was sent to the Kingdom of Darkness to find the Genesis Pearl. I believe what that trailer is saying is that Tevat is the Kingdom of Darkness, and she thinks that she's the queen of Tevat. And so there's a lot of interesting background in this where, like, okay, so if Tevat is the Kingdom of Darkness, like, is that actually like saying like Tevat is actually kind of like a kind of purgatory or something? There's a lot of stuff like that could be packed in behind that, and I can't really wait to see where they're going with it, because it's so entertaining to me what they've done with the base backstory for this game and its world. French and love my YouTube channel. Good luck. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Time for takeoff.
There's no real bad 5-star character. That's true. There are no bad 5-star characters. They are all good at something. And after basically completing the scale on my end, they pretty much... There's very few outliers of 4 stars that rise to the ranks that the 5 stars produce. This is not to say that the 4-star characters are bad, because they're very not bad. They're all just good at specific things, whereas most of the 5-star characters, with the exception of the mages, are good at almost everything. So yeah, there's one of those situations. Thanks for the answer. Have to save up a lot of primos and summons for Jean then. Yeah, she's definitely a character worth getting. I have C2 on mine. I don't think I'll be pushing her out anytime soon. C6 is monstrous with Mona, speaking from experience. Yeah, I've played a C6 Mona before in one of the betas, and yes, C6 Mona is... I think monstrous is... I was going to change the word, but no, I'm not going to. That's already an apt analogy. You just got Kuching hours ago, which make her second 5-star with Diluc. Nice. Yeah, they have really good synergy. That's, again, something I can speak from experiences. Yeah, she's really potent when paired with Diluc. You get all those overloads. It's nasty. It's really nice. Gonna Hodor for Zhongli. Yeah, you know, that's another one of the things I've been wondering, is if I should just kind of hold on to my primos for Zhongli. I'd really like to have him, but and I do think I'm going to probably go crazy for him when he comes out, but we'll see. There's a theory that Project Arc from previous era Honkai is actually Lumion and Aether from Genshin. Yeah, I've seen that theory, and actually I do believe that there's merit to that. I really do. I think that basically, you know, these other trailers where, you know, it indicates otherwise, I think there's actually portions of truth to that as far as the Project Arc and its connection to Genshin, and then also this Kingdom of Darkness and all of that. I really do. I feel like them sending them out for the Genesis Pearl, I think, is just like the storybook version of what happened, because it's like one of those like stories that are removed, you know, like subject to the telephone effect. But if you really look at the way it's told, it could be a parallel to the arc. You got Mona at C1, really hoping for that C2 soon. Yeah, I'm really hoping to get some constellations for Mona. The amount of potential boost that you get it's substantial, and in just the first 2 constellations. If you get 2 constellations on Mona, you don't even really need the other ones. They're good, but you don't really need them. My weapon on Mona is the Solar Pearl. It's the Battle Pass weapon at the moment. What's the 2 Animo bonus on the team? The double Animo character's bonus is reduced cooldown, increased movement speed, and and increased stamina efficiency. So it's really handy. I've actually gotten really addicted to having this bonus. I've had it since very early on, and whenever I swap characters, I definitely feel the difference, and it's hard for me to go back. You love how my content covers lore and theories about the game. It's very different from other videos. You also really enjoy the community I'm fostering around this awesome game. Keep it up. Thank you, Blues. I appreciate it. I'm definitely trying to provide a more positive community for Genshin, because there's a lot of communities that are, you know, that are very, what's the word I'm looking for, antagonistic of one another. And I'm kind of trying to not do that here. I've definitely come from a competitive gaming background, but at the same time, as much as I enjoy competitive gaming, I've never really been comfortable in that antagonistic atmosphere. So I'm trying to, build something that's more relaxed and more about just, sharing, the passion that we have as Genshin players, as opposed to, talking about the things we don't like. All right, I'm trying to jump forward just a little bit here. I'm getting closer to being caught up. Gina's best character. I think she's one of the best characters. Your team is Jean, Razor, Chi-Chi, and Fischl. Is it good, or will I lack damage due to all of the healing? I don't think you... So yeah, you might be a little light on damage overall. I'm suspecting that you have Fischl as your primary attacker with Jean as a secondary. Chi-Chi is not much of a DPS, but she is a good healer. If I had to choose one character on that party to take out, I would take out Chi-Chi. You run Kuching as main DPS and Venti and Mona as support. What would be the best build for Mona? If you're running Mona as a support character, then Elemental Mastery is going to be the way to go. Plug the Elemental Mastery so that her hits are as punchy as possible when you swap to her. Okay, let's see. What do I think of Noelle? I think she's a really good support character who can be built to do damage, even with a defense-oriented build. Go for 4-piece Gladiator set and maximize defense stat as much as possible. Personally, you find Jean very boring, but you use her because she is good. Oh, I don't really find anything boring about Jean. I think she's really one of the more interesting characters in the game. From story to gameplay, that character just resonates with me for some reason. Songli's pillar ability is lackluster. So I've only heard minor things about that pillar ability right now, but I suspect that the damage will be higher than the meteor on the Traveler, so we'll see. I don't really know much about his elemental burst though, but we'll get reveals on him soon enough, so we'll see. Mona playstyle is sick. Wow, yeah, I definitely enjoy her. Does ascending Venti more ruin his ult, because the enemies get pulled closer to the center of the vortex, which makes it harder for melee characters. So yeah, you will have a little bit of a problem striking those characters that are trapped in his elemental burst. But this is one of the reasons why my primary DPS is a mage, so that you don't have problems reaching those enemies. Also, you can still reach them if your primary DPS is an archer, but archers don't have continuously elemental attacks, so that's something to keep in mind as well. But yeah, you can also sidestep that if your primary DPS is Kuching, because she can just use her E skill to aim upwards and go strike them in that and reapply the electro benefit. Okay, let's see. I'm just about caught up now, finally. On Mona, how would I rate the Solar Pearl versus the other weapons she would use? So that's actually been one of my major focuses of the channel since release, is to kind of help everybody understand which is the best mage weapon. Right now, Solar Pearl, I've found it outperforms the Eye of Perception if accompanied with a proper critical build, and that is to say that you're going to have straight attack except for on your goblet and on your mask. On your goblet, you're going to have a hydro damage bonus, and on your mask, you're going to have critical rate. And this will produce a very high overall critical rate, especially if you can pick up some lucky crit stats. I have 83.2% between those and my secondaries, and I've managed to get to 70% in crit damage. Crit damage is the number that I'm trying to raise now, because I'm basically critting, 4 out of 5 hits, which is all the time. You're always critting. So if you can get your crit damage up at that point, then you're only going to benefit, and it's going to scale really hard. So right now, Solar Pearl is an easy enough weapon to get from the Battle Pass, and it's definitely a weapon that I recommend because it does outperform the Eye of Perception. As far as the Royal Grimoire, I have it, but I haven't finished building it, and as soon as I do finish building it, I will be pushing out an analysis of that as well. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't pushed out my Solar Pearl versus Eye of Perception video yet, is that I'm kind of waiting until I get this Royal Grimoire leveled up so that I can do my tests on that. I might stream the test on that just like I did with the last one, so we'll see. And then I will actually just produce an analysis video afterwards. When will the next lore video drop? That's going to be tomorrow. Blazing Storm Gaming, I'm working on a Origins of Sucrose video. And yeah, so right now it's not quite done yet, but it's getting really close. It should be tomorrow. Currently your team has Venti, Razor Chungyun, and Barbara. Thoughts? Who is your primary DPS? Who's your secondary? It seems like that would be a pretty rounded team. You have heals. You have Venti as a really good support. Razor and Chungyun, their elements play well together, but having two, it seems like you have Razor and Chungyun as your primary and secondary DPSs, but you're having claymores in both those roles, to me, is a little off-putting. Like, I personally don't like to do that, but it doesn't mean that it can't work. I usually try not to have 2 claymores in my team for long periods of time, though. Right now, you're hoping to get Jean, Chi-Chi, Mona, and Chungyun, and you have been saving your gems. You'll be pulling on the new banner tomorrow. Wish me luck. Blues, yeah, good luck. I'm going to be doing the same, more than likely, tomorrow as well. Which do you think is better for empowering Mona DPS? So you should orient Mona around attack and critical rate. You can go for a straight attack build on Mona, or you can go for a critical rate with crit damage and attack build. I find that the crit build works better right now with the Solar Pearl. But if you have a Skyward Atlas, that might actually work better with a straight attack build, but that's for the future. I haven't been able to test that because I don't have a Skyward Atlas at this time. You feel like Geo is very underrated as an element because its effects are not very intuitive like others. So Centurion, I agree. I think Geo is underrated at the moment, but I think it's underrated because it's a support element. So like all the other support elements in the game, they're kind of not, necessary, but they're nice to have. I do think that there are times when having support, especially shields, is really, really handy. But it's not something that you need all the time. There's like key instances where you find yourself really wishing that you had it, though, when you don't. Especially in the Spiral Abyss, there's a lot of levels of the Spiral Abyss where you know, if you don't have a Geo character, you're just kind of sitting there like, wow, I really wish I had a Geo character in my party right now. And then as soon as you rebuild your party to have it, you know, your problems go away. So I feel like in the overworld, Geo isn't really all that necessary, but as soon as you get into the Spiral Abyss, like there's so many situations where a Geo character is beneficial to you. How should you build Fischl? Because now you have her as a support DPS over Razor as your main. Is this alright, or should you make Fischl as your main DPS? I would swap Fischl to your primary DPS and have Razor support, honestly. If you build Fischl as a straight attacker, her attack speed is very fast. You can build her attack and crit rate, and she does a lot of damage. There's a lot of people who have put a lot of time into building Fischls out as lead DPSs. I have a good friend who runs Fischl as secondary DPS, so basically she's still built as a primary DPS, but he secondaries her to his Diluc, and it works really, really well for him. He is considering swapping her to an elemental build, though, but it does work out nicely. What do I think about Wanderer's Troop as a set for C2 Mona? I don't really like Wanderer's Troop as a set for Mona, just on a personal level. In my experience, it just doesn't perform the same as going with a critical build. You got Diluc, Xiangling, Keqing, and Fischl, and you feel like you lack support. So, of the characters that you're sitting on there, you could easily build Xiangling or Fischl as support characters. I don't know who you're using as your primary heals. I guess, Koji, if you're using food a lot and you're running with that build, you'll definitely have a lot of output. You've got double fire, so you're picking up that resonance benefit, which is always good. Keqing and Diluc together could be run as a cooperative primary and secondary DPS situation. I would definitely build Keqing as your primary since you have them both. Fischl and Xiangling could both be built as energy recharge and elemental mastery supporters, and you'll get a lot of damage. Hell, you could, with Keqing as your primary DPS, you could build Diluc as a secondary for damage with a lot of energy recharge, and he'll just have his ultimate up all the time. It gets pretty crazy with Diluc if you have enough energy recharge. What's my thoughts on Hydra bonus damage versus attack Goblet on Mona? Hydra damage bonus Goblet does more damage for Mona on the enemies that she is strong against, but on the enemies that she's weak against, it's going to do less on those. I do use a Hydra damage bonus Goblet on Mona because I'm mostly leaning into the enemies that she's strong against, but there are compelling arguments that would suggest that going with straight attack could be better. I will be doing some test numbers on that to help give more definitive objective answers to that in the future, and that you can expect that to be fully explored when I do my my Mona build guide video in the near future. I'm planning to hit the ground with that sometime next week, hopefully. After I get my next lore video out, it's going to be the next scale video, and then after that it's going to be the Mona build guide, so long as I have my Royal Grimoire leveled up fully. If I'm going to choose between Zhongli and Zhao, which would I rather get? I would have to say Zhongli, just because I currently already have 2 5-star Anemo characters, and my depth in Anemo as a utility is really high, but my depth in Geo is almost non-existent because I only have Noelle and Traveler. Oh, and Ningguang. So, I mean, I guess my depth is fine, but like the depth in characters that I would build into my primary rotation isn't very good. I don't like to have 2 mages in my team all the time. So, like, I think Ningguang is really, really good, but in order for me to use Ningguang regularly, I usually prefer to bump Mona, and I don't like to do that unless I have to. How bad of an idea would it be to run a team without an archer or catalyst user? I feel like your overall DPS would be a little light if you don't have at least one of those 2 things. Now, I can say again from experience, I went a long time in one of the betas without an archer. I didn't really fully appreciate the benefit that an archer can bring to your team as far as providing weak point strikes against the more powerful enemies. So yes, you can absolutely get along without them, but it's a lot more convenient to have one than to not. So here's one of the other things is it might be surprising to hear me say it because I built my team around a mage, but I think a archer is probably more important to keep around than a mage. So if you're trying to decide between which one you should have, I would probably lean into the archer. But if you have a good mage, somebody like Mona or Ningguang, then you could definitely do that and be fine, but just be aware that not having those weak point strikes is going to make some interactions less beneficial than they could be. Zhao's mobility is kind of double-edged. He can certainly ruin your own combos. Yeah, he's got really interesting mobility, but I'm wondering if one of the reasons why he's disappeared from the betas kind of in a similar fashion to Kamisato is that they're doing some rebuilding on him. I kind of suspect that that might be what they're doing. It's, again, this is, purely speculatory, but really one of his biggest things was that he had plunge. He had the ability to strike downward fast, and now everybody can do that. Now, of course, his ultimate produces that ability in spades, whereas everybody else's does not. But, now that he doesn't have kind of the lockdown on that ability, there's definitely compelling... there could be a compelling argument to say that, him being able to do that is no longer novel. So, yeah, I don't know, he may fall from grace to some degree in a world where everybody can use plunge attacks. You already invested in Slingshot, and it's level 60 now, and you just got an Amos bow. Your second DPS is official, and you want to know if you should invest in Amos or keep using Slingshot. Jericho, remind me what the stats are on Slingshot. All of my archers are built to support. The names of some of the bows are not something that are in the forefront of my mind, unfortunately. Ruins Guards, gotta love those guys. Yeah, absolutely. You run Kuching as your main DPS and Venti and Mona as support. What would be the best build for Mona? If you're running Mona as a support to your Kuching, then you're going to want to run her as Elemental Mastery. Build her as Elemental Mastery and Hydro Damage bonus with Energy Recharge. All of those together are going to result in Mona being able to produce her Elemental Burst as often as possible. The hits produced from that are already really high. So that's one thing that'll be really nice. With a lot of Elemental Mastery and Recharge, you're going to be doing it a lot. And then all of her hits when you pop out to use her for reactions are going to be really punchy. You're new here, just subscribe to what did I focus on building for Mona. My Mona is built on attack and critical. So she's using Solar Pearl, which is the Battle Pass weapon, with attack main stat artifacts except for the Goblet, which is Hydro Damage bonus, and her Mask, which is critical rate. This produced a slightly above the crit soft cap of 83% and 70% crit damage from substats. As a result, she is hitting harder now than she did when I had her with a fully attack-focused build. And it's more consistent, which is nice. So long as I'm not fighting enemies that are kind of predisposed to be strong against Hydro, that is. And that's where I kind of stagnate a little bit in my current party comp. I need a beneficial Pyro character, or to swap Venti out with Fischl, but I need that C6 Fischl. That'll probably help my overall team synergy, I think. What do I think of Klee's Elemental synergy? Overload scales via levels, so do I think having a Cryo in party to proc Melt at 100% is the most consistent dot if we are running 2 Fire Resonance for attack percent? I think that you're going to get a lot of return for going with Resonance if you have Klee in your party. Say for instance, if you have Klee and Diluc, that 100% is definitely going to make her even punchier, and she produces a lot of damage. I think that having Cryo mixed in with that isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if you can, I'd try to throw an Electro character in on top of it so that you get the overloads to boot. Ningguang didn't trap them, it's more like she hinders their plans with the help of the Qixing at her command. I think I missed part of a conversation somewhere back there. Let's see. Where did I learn that Ningguang trapped them? Hang on, I'm still... Now I gotta backtrack a little bit. Hang on. I think I can't find it. Clue me in on that conversation, tryharder. Is 5-star Skyward Spine good? It's polearm, by the way. So... I believe it's energy recharge, so it's one of those weapons that's going to be primarily oriented for a character that you want to use as support. I think that support is Xiangling's best role. She doesn't really do super fantastic damage from her normals. They're not terrible, but they're not great. But if you build her as Elemental Mastery, I think you get slightly better returns there. I'm not real fond of Xiangling as a character. Just because the bear is somewhat finicky as far as its targeting. And I think it makes him somewhat clumsy. It's even hard to get him to, effectively trigger puzzles reliably, unless you make your placements perfect. There's been so many instances where I was just trying to use her to light, a pyro statue post, and it drops on the one that I already lit up or something, and I moved really far away from it so it wouldn't do it, and it still does it. And yeah, so I most of the time end up just using Amber now to do that. And for the same reason, I just use Amber for most instances as my go-to pyro right now, because I don't have any other pyros.
Frozen. Crisp. Come at me. To ashes.
Ah, that guy jumped right on my face. Still jumping on my face. I can't seem to get this one because he's cryo. Let's see if I can just blast through him. yeah. I don't know. I guess I just maybe I haven't sunk in enough time into Xiangling to really feel that character's like full utility, even in regard to puzzles. But I don't know. Amber's so much easier to use in that instance, and whenever you use her as your support character, she also has the option to shoot weak points for you, which is really nice. I have mine at C2, so she has her double arrow, which is also really good, and the ability to instant detonate Baron Bunny, which is always really nice. And that's one of the other things that kind of drives me crazy about Goba, is that he turns to a specific enemy, which sometimes, if he turns to an enemy that's that's standing alone, where on the opposite side, if it turned 180 degrees, it would be firing into like 3 or 4 enemies. That can also be kind of a headache.
Delve into destiny. Yahoo! Brace yourself.
Oh, that did not go well. It's all build dependent, really. Yeah, I agree with that to some extent. The build really does define the character, and also the role that you try to put them in. I really think that it's very easy to get a kind of an easy misunderstanding of what a character is actually good at if you just because you built them incorrectly or in a role that they're not really good at. Because there's some characters that are absolutely much better in a support role, but they're not very good in lead DPS. And then there's other characters that are great as lead DPS and underperform in support. So understanding what role a character is good at and what roles they're bad at is really important. T-Park, AR40 just pulled Mona. Usually run Kuching, Razor, Chi-Chi, Noelle. Is Mona worth the XP grinding to get her up to 80 now or with your team or nah? Absolutely she is. Like, absolutely. You already have a healer in Chi-Chi. So you could probably push out Noelle and build her if you wanted. Especially since you already have Razor as well as a Claymore user on that team. You're going to get really, really good team synergy in 2 Electros to support a Mona as a primary DPS or a secondary DPS to your Kuching. So keep that in mind as well. Since Amber's ult CD is very low, it's worth to build her with elemental recharge artifacts. Yes, I have mine built with elemental mastery and recharge. That's definitely the best way to get her built. The more you can elemental burst, the more output she's going to deal for you. Your channel is really going to get more popular. Last stream was only about 50-60 people. Good going. Yeah, I noticed this one's actually, like, there's so many of you in here tonight that I can barely keep up with it. And I just want to say thank you, everyone, tonight for coming into the stream. I really do appreciate it. And here's to the next one for sure as well. Things have been growing really, really fast this week, much faster than I anticipated, actually. And I want to say thank you to all of you who have subscribed and have been checking in with me regularly. I really do appreciate it. You guys really help to keep me energized to produce more content regularly. Who to pull, Zhao or Zhongli? I think, James, that's going to really depend on what elements you need depth in. If you have a lot of Animo characters, I would say go for Zhongli. If you have a lot of Geo characters but not very much Animo depth, then go for Zhao. Is C2 Xiangling better than OC Kaya or Ningguang? So again, it's going to depend, Hamim, on what role you're trying to build these characters in. I'm going to assume that all 3 of these characters are intended to be support. But they all kind of fulfill a different role in support. So Xiangling's obviously going to be a facilitator of your pyro reactions. Kaya's a facilitator of your cryo reactions, as he's mostly just a freeze bot with low damage output outside of his elemental burst. And Ningguang actually, if you build her as a primary or secondary DPS, has really high damage, but as Elemental Mastery doesn't have much impact on the damage output of Geo abilities, she's not really great in regards to support damage, but is really good in regards to support shields. So, Elemental Mastery enhances the protection of a shield, but not really very much in regards to the damage. I would say out of the 3 of those characters in a support role, I think 2C Xiangling's going to be your best option for support if you're looking for support output. But if you want to have good output, you could also build Ningguang as a primary DPS, so you could fit her into the secondary DPS role by just building her as your secondary DPS. Just build her as a primary and use her when you cannot use it in situations that your primary DPS is less likely to succeed. And you can feel those situations out with time. Do you think they'll ever remove the 70% cap off Bennett's healing? His Constellations remove that cap. Lucais? Yeah, his Constellations remove that. So, yes. Yes, I do. Okay, let's see. Zarozin says that Ningguang is basically messing with the Fatui's plans in Liyue, but I'm just trying to understand why he thinks she's messing with their plans, like if he read it or heard it somewhere.
as such.
So Zerozent is kind of like me. It seems he usually has a lot of like theory crafting, like he likes to try to dig behind the story that's being told to find the motives. And I kind of agree with him. I really do. I think that Ningguang is, I think she's been working with Rex Lapis. I think that she knows that he's not actually dead and that she helped him fake his death so that he is, so that it throws the Fatui off the scent of his gnosis. Running Diluc, Jean, Mona, and Venti. Between Mona and Jean, who should you delegate to secondary DPS and which to support? Mona as secondary DPS and Jean as your support, I would say. Jean can still provide good damage output by merit of her E, throwing enemies into the air alone. You could build her as straight attack with energy recharge to maximize her healing and still get good damage out of her. Meanwhile, you actually have to focus on building Mona as a secondary output. So, if you build Mona as your secondary DPS by building her as attack and critical and just using her in situations that are favorable as opposed to your primary, whenever you need Jean, because you can build her as attack and energy recharge, her output will still be good and you'll have a team that will have very high rounded DPS. Does critical proc other than normal attack like skills and aim shot? Yes, it does. Although for weak points, no. Weak point aim shots are always critical, as I understand it. So no, I don't think that those change. Genshin is really blowing people up. Can't wait to see where the game goes. Yeah, I agree. I think that Genshin's going to have a great future. I think the next 5 years for this game are going to be huge. I think that this is going to be one of those AAA games that everybody knows of. And really, a lot of people already know about it. But I think, you know, a year from now, everybody's going to know what it is. Do you think Barbara, Fischl, Diluc, and Zhangling is a good team? Barbara, Fischl, Diluc, and Zhang. Yeah, I think that team definitely has some good synergies. I see you're using the resonance option for Pyro. I think that your output should be good there. You have solid heals through Barbara, and I'm assuming Fischl is your support with Diluc as your primary. Am I right? I do think that team should work well. You should have a lot of good synergy there too, because Oz is going to be throwing you constant attacks to keep overloads going, which is really, really nice. Link95, whoops, forgot to subscribe. Go subscribe. And also, thank you. Zhongli is more badass, Zhao is edgy. I would agree. I think that Zhongli definitely has an understated, like, just... He's a very understated individual, and I think he's definitely hiding some kind of crazy power because he's more than likely Rex Lapis. Alright, I'm going to have to skip because I'm falling behind a little bit again, so I'm sorry to anybody that I'm missing some statements here. So you're doing a combo of some normal attacks and then charged on Mona. Does that have more DPS? I use charged attacks with Mona as I have opportunity to do so, especially since it crits so hard. When you get her C2, you don't even really need to do it as often because it automatically throws charges in there. But if you have the opportunity to throw in charged attacks with Mona, it's like the equivalent of a full rotation of normals because its damage is like about 4 times the average hit. So if it crits, and in my build, she almost always crits, so yeah, it's very worthwhile. I think Super Mario Brothers is going to make a comeback. Yeah, I think they're trying some interesting stuff with Mario right now. They just, you know, they had that, the All-Stars or whatever it was. That I bought it and I barely played it because Genshin came out like at the same time. Kuching and Diluc, who is better? I prefer Kuching compared to Diluc. Her DPS is definitely higher overall, but Diluc is definitely going to be favorable in certain situations where Kuching is weak. So they kind of have complementary strengths, if that makes sense. Kaya and main character are the only strong characters you have for now. Interesting. Let's see, totally random question here, but what is the point of raising friendship on your characters? So for me, the point of raising friendship on the characters is to unlock story for these characters, so that if you look, when you go to the profile window, you'll see that you have these story chapters, and they unlock at specific friendship levels. And so for me, I level up friendship to get these so that I can write lore content. So that's the primary purpose of the friendship level. However, they do also have, if you look in the name cards section, all of the characters in the game have their own name cards, and you unlock them at friendship level 10. So that's another secondary reason to unlock friendship levels for your characters. Currently running a team with Jean, 80, Fischl 70, Xiangling 70, with Jean as your primary DPS. You were trying to save for Zhao, but you got Diluc suddenly, so you're quite conflicted on getting Zhao. Yeah, I mean, I could see where the conflict arises in having that team set up, because it's already effective. But Animo characters are a benefit to almost any team. So there's definitely going to be situations where swapping out one of those characters, probably Xiangling, would be beneficial to you to put Zhao in. Does Jean, Razor, Mona, and Venti have good synergy? Yes. So Jean's good synergy by default because she's a healer. And her elemental burst actually still does some damage, which is nice, especially if you've already got enemies who are pre-procced with other elements. By the time that you use it, it'll do even more damage because it then applies all those swirls, which is always nice. You really kind of can't go wrong with that. Let's see. Zhongli's assortment of trivia knowledge is hilarious. Yeah, he's God, he's such an interesting character. I actually really appreciated the personality, well, in general, the personality that they bring to every character in this game. But Zhongli's got such a quirky personality, right? Because he's so otherworldly. And this is, again, a big part of the reason why I think that he is Rex Lapis, is that he seems to know everything and nothing all at the same time, which is exactly the kind of personality you might expect of a Archon who doesn't really have to worry about things like, you know, money and life and the trials and tribulations of, you know, a regular person. Let's see. Is Mona one of the strongest characters in Genshin Impact? I certainly think so, yes. And the damage tests that I've done with her compared to every other playable character on the current roster would support that as well, yes. Is two bows ever an option? I think two bows can be used. I think that there's a lot of situations where it's not going to benefit you, though, because, you know, your charge shot is really the main reason to carry a bow character with you, is, you know, so that you can utilize weak point strikes. But if you have two, then you don't need to swap to the other one because there's no cooldown on your charge shot. There's just a charge time, so you don't really have to swap for that, right? So I don't really like to use two archers in my party at the same time, but I could certainly see where there would be benefits to doing that at times. Basically just for elemental advantage, though, in certain situations. Yeah, let's see what this will do to him. Probably not much. It's doing okay. Oh.
Written in the stars. Shadows of
Alright, let's see. Gaming that's hard question. Is that depending on before 70 or after? No constellations or max cons. I think I missed a question in there. Are we sure that Zhongli couldn't be Rex Lapis? In the Rex Incognito book, the description sounded like him. I think he is. I absolutely, Mitchell, I think that he is. Is Jean, Diluc, Barbara, Fischl a good team with Jean first DPS? I think that team can work. It will depend on what you build Jean with. I think... So here's an interesting situation, though. So if you're building Jean as your primary DPS, you're going to be underutilizing some of her ability for Swirl, as opposed to if you build, like, say, for instance, you have Diluc as your primary DPS. So, like, you're not going to be getting a lot of... I think that, like, if that's your team, Jean and Diluc should be a primary and secondary DPS situation, as opposed to building Diluc with an elemental mastery set or something like that, is what I'm trying to get at. So with a team like that, I would build Diluc as a secondary attacker with high energy recharge. Do you think having an in-game economy by adding a trading system between players would be beneficial for this game? That's a tough question. So I notice there's definitely a growing trend in gaming these days where player-driven economies are kind of going away. So because RMT is getting so, well, it's really always been prevalent, but it's definitely not getting better. And as a result, a lot of the gaming industry's solution to that has just been to disallow player trading altogether. I think that personally, I think that's kind of a knee-jerk reaction to the problem, just in the absence of any other solutions. But I certainly can't think of a better solution myself, so I guess that's probably the main reason why a lot of games aren't allowing it. On a personal level, I kind of think that, you know, player-to-player trading could be cool, but I do think that it opens up a lot of avenues for abuse. And I guess that's still very much true in the real world, too.
Written in the stars.
Oh, this guy, come on.
Shadows of...
Oh, he's just not going to let me pop the omen at all, is he? There it is. Let's see. Yeah, Flight Knight, she doesn't need any healing buffs, absolutely not. You can just build her straight attack and she'll heal a lot anyways. Who should be DPS among Venti, Zhangling, Fischl, Barbara? Fischl. I would build Fischl as your primary DPS. Venti would be your best support DPS along with Zhangling.
It can only but be accepted.
Running Kuching, Fischl, Barbara, and Venti. Anyone you should swap out. So you have two archers. The only thing I would swap out is I would probably swap out one of your two archer, or no, you don't have, yeah, you do. I would swap out Fischl, if anybody in that team, in certain situations. But only if you have characters that are going to synergize well in that role. So if you have like a Baidal or a Razor, somebody like that, I think would fit in that slot better given your current team. Maybe not even, because you have Kuching. So if you could put a Cryo in, if you have Chongyun, or if you manage to pick up Diona or somebody in the upcoming patches, still, that's even, you're just replacing an archer for an archer. So I still think Chongyun's probably still going to be your best bet.
Such, for it cannot be changed, nor can it be reversed.
Let's see. How rare is it to get one Diluc in Venti banner and one Diluc in basic banner? So there's a lot of RNG on that. I'd imagine that's pretty rare overall. I don't know what the actual odds are on that. Bennett, is Bennett good? I think Bennett is extremely underrated. He actually can be geared to produce good damage as a support character, and he heals. He definitely has better value than most people give him. There's a lot of people who don't even attempt to build him just because there's been so many memes about him being bad since the first closed beta test well over a year ago, and the character doesn't even really play the same way as he did back then. So really, characters like Bennett have been given kind of the short end of the stick for a long time now, and it's kind of unfair to him.
Time for takeoff. Let me scribe.
Let's see. Tave out Historia can correct me if I'm wrong. With Max Constellation, 5-star characters as a whole will be stronger than 4-star characters. I cannot think of any 4-star characters. If you were to compare a 5-star character in Max Constellations to 4-star characters with Max Constellations, I would generally have to say that all of the 5-star characters are going to outperform. Right now, at least from the known characters, I would definitely say that to be true, although your chances of getting Max Constellations on any 5-star character are pretty low. But 4-star characters with Max Constellations can match up to most 5s with none. Yeah, I would agree with that in general as well. And I kind of think that that's their intent, was, you know, so here you have pretty good rates at picking 4-star characters, and then the rate-up banners make certain ones more likely to obtain as well. And I kind of think that they've done that intentionally. That way the 4-star characters can still carry you in the absence of the 5-star characters on the current roster. Stumbled upon this channel on autoplay while playing. Just sub question. I currently have Venti and Mona thanks to insane RNG. What team comp could I build around them? Carlos Abiera, I think. I might be saying that wrong, and if so, I'm sorry. I don't know what other characters you have, but I can tell you from experience, if you have Venti and Mona, they synergize well enough together to have a lot of favorable reactions in the game overall. So you could build them with any of the game's healers, and it will still work well. But if you don't want to use Barbara and you have Noelle or Jean, I think that works better, just because I personally don't care for the Hydro Resonance as an option. It just increases healing, and Barbara's already good at that, so it wastes that slot to me. So if you can throw Noelle, or if you have Jean in the heal slot, you're going to be better for it. And at that point, also having a character that's going to synergize directly to make your Mona better is also good. So cryo characters or electro characters are gonna help Mona shine even more. Sucrose is favored very much so in the Chinese servers. Sucrose is a good character. I don't really have any problems with her. I think that Venti is better in the same role, but I do think that Sucrose is very good. Is 1370 damage for full set 60 level main DPS good? I assume you mean 1370 as your primary attack stat at level 60. Yeah, I think that's pretty solid. I think that there's definitely situations where you might be able to achieve a little higher than that, but I don't think that's bad at all. Would we still be able to get Venti after his banner ends? Aob, Gala? No, I don't think so. I think that banner is going to be gone. We won't be able to get that anymore afterwards. Kanoi 2K, Tavot, at what point do I think Jean is viable as a solo DPS? I think Jean is viable as a solo DPS now. So, like, I've had a lot of situations where she was my damage carry in the Spiral Abyss. My utility from my Baidal is getting better as I continue to build her. So I've actually been getting much better progress from her lately than Jean, just because I've actually been able to get really good damage out of her these days, because I've gotten some good artifacts for her. Now she's at 1780 attack. But my Jean's not far behind her, and her attack speed is faster. However, Baidal's weapon is definitely, like, pretty disgustingly good, especially what with this the benefit of increasing attack by 50% for enemies, or when you hit an enemy under 30%. There's a lot of times where I just watch for their health to dip below about that point and just swap to her to get this buff, because it's so good. And sometimes I just swap back to Jean and let Jean attack because she's so fast. But I do have a 4-piece gladiator set on my Baidal, so her normals now hit really hard compared to Jean, so it's kind of starting to give me reasons to main attack from Baidal again. While your Mona is nutty, may I know what your Mona's artifact set are? Yeah, I can show you what my Mona artifacts are. So basically, I've got 2-piece gladiator, 2-piece berserker. And then from there, you want, if you're using Solar Pearl, I enhance Solar Pearl's effectiveness by running crit rate. And then also for the goblet, hydro damage bonus. And this is kind of maximizing several of her stats across the board to push her damage numbers up as high as I can get them. Okay, what set did I run on Mona when I ran my tests? I tried several set combinations in the tests, Jim Jones. And so basically what I did was for Eye of Perception, I built a set that leaned straight attack and then also a set that leaned attack with critical. And that way I could test both setups for that. And then I swapped to the Solar Pearl and did the same. I built a set that was basically straight attack and a set that was attack critical. And I was able to find which setup was strong with each weapon and then basically compare the strongest setup for each of those two weapons against each other. And that's how the Solar Pearl ended up being victorious comparatively. How do I think I can fit Venti into a team of Razor, Fischl, Mona, Barbara? I would drop Razor if you're going to put in Venti. That's the character, because Fischl has insane synergy to Mona. It's just ridiculous. If you're going to keep, especially if your Fischl is C6, she is very, very good with Mona. So I would push Razor out, if anybody on that team. Let's see. I'm gonna have to skip down a little bit because I have fallen 10 minutes behind the chat again. So I'm gonna hit some of the ats really quick here and then move back to the bottom. Maybe also mention: is it beneficial to keep 2 decently built DPS for Abyss later? Yes. So I have several characters that I am slowly building up as off attackers for the Spiral Abyss. So that's definitely worth doing. Bladeworks, you're right. Have I considered Sucrose Bennett Mona comp from the 500k Mona on Reddit? I don't have Bennett, so I cannot do that. No, I haven't. That hasn't entered my considerations at this time. Let's see. Oof, your Venti isn't built. Isn't built? I don't know if I understand what you mean. My Venti is Recharge and Elemental Mastery. So he's basically built to bring his Elemental Burst up as frequently as possible, and for that Elemental Burst to be punchy. He doesn't have very high overall flat attack stat, but that's because he's basically leaning into the Elemental Mastery again. So you can see here with over 400 Elemental Mastery that those swirl swirl bonuses are at 153.2%, which is pretty high. Hi Tevat, how would you recommend to build Baidal with Mona as primary DPS? I built my Baidal as a secondary attacker, so basically she's straight attack with a 4-piece gladiator set, because Mona definitely has some non-ideal matchups against some enemies in the world. So anytime you're up against Hydra enemies, you definitely need to swap to Baidal, and you need her to be punchy in that situation. Mona can't break shields that aren't pyro in nature very well. Again, you're going to need Baidal for those. So you want those normals, those non-elemental hits, to be as good as possible. So yeah, lean into 4-piece gladiator to get the most out of her in that situation. Best way to spend Primo Gems: wishes or resin refill or other? I prefer, on a personal level, MIVG, to use my Primo Gems for wishes as opposed to resin refill. But there are compelling reasons to go either direction. But the way I feel is slow and steady wins the race, right? So if you're going to go with your wishes, you're going to fill out your rosters so that you have more diverse matchup options. Whereas if you refill your resin, you'll just keep leveling, and you may not have the roster to fill the challenges that you'll meet. So I think that there's compelling reasons to roll for more characters and weapons as opposed to using your resin, or as opposed to using your Primo Gems to get additional resin.
Divination is about precisely
Sucrose is very good for boosting elemental mastery, so she has her own niche compared to Venti, depending on how you build your team. I agree with that. I do. I think that Sucrose definitely has some matchup situations where she's very good. On a personal level, I don't really like to have 2 mages in my team at the same time, because mages have the inherent weakness of not being able to damage enemies that are the same element as them, and in general are not very good at killing enemies with shields. and also they can't attack weak points. So I don't like to have more than one of them in my team at a time. Taveout, at what point do I think Jean is viable as a solo healer? I think she's always viable as a solo healer. I've never had 2 healers in my party since release, because I got Jean on day 1. So she's always been there for me, and I very rarely ever have to use food.
Fate is called as such, for it cannot be changed, nor can it be reversed.
Let's see, I'm still trying to catch up a little bit here. How do I deal with the very little adventure rank experience they give? Too little, and do I think that there will be more side quests to help level up? Yeah, I think that they're going to be adding more side quests, obviously, with the new region when that comes out. But I also think that they're going to be adding more side quests with events and stuff coming up. And they're not even really going to be side quests. They're going to be more like story quests. We know that we have the developers road path thing that they gave us a couple of weeks ago. And in that, they talked about some events that they're working on. One of them is a Mona story. So that one's probably going to be some nice adventure rank that we have coming up. And I think there were 2 others as well. And then we also have some holiday events coming up over the next couple of months to look forward to as well. So I do think we're going to be seeing a lot of situations where we get quests for additional adventure rank. This guy still put his shield up. It's not really helping him that much. How much hydro bonus do I have with Mona? I think I have in the 60s, I think, for overall hydro damage bonus percentage right now, if I recall. I think high 60s. Let's see, 65. So mid 60s. Have Diluc and Chi-Chi and Venti as mains. Is Mona or Fischl better for the team? So it kind of depends on what reactions you want to go with. So if you use Fischl as a support character, you're going to be getting a lot of overload, so you're going to be getting AoE damage. But if you use Mona, you're going to be getting Vaporize, which is single target but higher damage. So it kind of depends on what you're trying to do, Gohan, overall. I could absolutely understand why you hate leaving Mona on the bench. I wouldn't want to leave her on the bench either. Her utility is really high because of her lure, which is definitely one of those great things to have. For me, I don't even have to keep a pyro character on my party because I don't need a pyro character when I have a lure, so I can still get behind characters with shields and just nuke them from behind. What would you like to see in update 1.1? I'd like to see Zhang Li. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to actually get Zhang Li in my party. That's what I'd like to see. Honest to goodness, I'm pretty easy to please. Like, if 1.1 comes with any new story, and I actually can pick Zhang Li without going to pity or something, I will be extremely happy.
Here we go.
Come on. There we go. Have I ever played any of MiHoYo's other games? Yes, I played Honkai Impact 3rd for a little while. I think it's super, super high level, but I think I played it for a few weeks, so it was high enough. Yes, Genshin Impact, Pike-kun. Genshin does have a manga. If you go to the official website, it's really good. I highly recommend. George14568, you're only level 28 and ran out of things to get more XP. It's annoying. Focus on bosses, domains, and ley lines, and just power it out until you get to, I think, 29 for the next story quest, and then you'll actually start having, more experience to grab from that. I find that at 29 you can focus on the story. It usually dumps you out closer to 32 by the end of that. Let's see. Don't have any 5 stars, but in my opinion, Kaya is good. He can freeze enemies. I think Kaya is underrated. I think general consensus is that Kaya is not good, but I think that that's a gross oversimplification of the character's kit. The character actually is useful. He is a freeze bot, though, so, I mean, like, you're not really going to get a lot of great effectiveness out of him as a lead DPS because his attack speed's kind of on the slower side. But his cooldown on his elemental skill on his E is so low that you can just, you know, you can use that character that synergizes well with him and just keep stuff frozen all the time, or you can keep stuff superconducted all the time. He synergizes really well to Mona. He synergizes really well to Kuching. In either of those situations, you can get a lot of beneficial interactions with Kaya. Oh, he fell down. Let's see. About my Razor Chang'an Venti Barbara team, and you have 2 Claymore users, is a little iffy. Should I swap? You have Fischl, not built, Noelle, Ningguang, Zhangling, and the free ones. If you had to get rid of any character in that team, Razor Chang'an Venti Barbara, I would probably get rid of Razor and replace it with Fischl. That would probably be my first choice as far as swapping a character in that team. It does depend somewhat on what character your currently DPS is, Minichi. But if you were going to take out Razor, I would build Fischl as your primary DPS. How much did I do the events? If you're talking about the Elemental Crucible, on the first day I maxed out all the achievements. I haven't done it again since then, though. Is Paimon one of the 6 pygmies mentioned in the book, The Pale Princess and the 6 Pygmies? You know, that's an interesting thought. She could be, but until we get any like additional clues or hints that she may be, it would be mostly speculation. But there's definitely some merit to that. It's certainly worth exploring a little more. What's my favorite thing about the lore of the game? Jim Jones, I think my favorite thing about the lore in this game is how much time and care they put into writing the personalities of the characters. They don't just write a character. They actually develop personalities for these characters to where some degree you can really sit back and look at the reactions that characters have in given situations and be like, yeah, that makes sense. This character would absolutely do that. I think that I really think that they take their time for every interaction that these characters have to decide what they'll say and what they'll do. Since I have Mona, you ask which is better weapon, I have Perception or Mappa Mare. I have Perception and Mappa Mare are 2 very different weapons for Mona, so if you were going to build Mona as lead DPS, then I have Perception with a straight attack build, and as much critical as you can get. If you're using her with a Mappa Mare, then she's a support DPS. Instead, you're building Elemental Mastery and Recharge. So they're 2 very different approaches to the character. Is the manga still going? I believe in China, the manga is now completed. I think it has 17 chapters. But over here, we've only gotten to 14, I think. So we still have 3 to go. The real question is, when do I think they will add Timmy as a character with the element of pigeon? You know what? I don't know. I think that I should go poke the bear, as it were, and see, just because you said that, if Timmy's there. And if he's not, then oh, he's there. Well, I'm gonna do something bad anyways. Oh, his birds aren't there. That's unfortunate. I was gonna ult on his birds, but they're not there. Sad face. Well, I guess I can't do that. So much for that. Alright, well, going back over here then. So should Fischl be DPS in Venti, Fischl, Zhangling, Barbara? Yes. Fischl should be your lead DPS in that team comp, yes. Paimon is food, nothing else. She's emergency food. There is a difference. You only eat Paimon when you have no other food. Food is food when you need food or want food, but emergency food, that's special. Why Mona wears a swimsuit? Because she's wet all the time. Which 4-star sword drop DPS do I like the most? Michael Billion, do you mean single-hand sword characters specifically? You have an important question, is Paimon a emergency food? Whenever the option has come up in the story for her to be emergency food, she has been an emergency food. So, yes. Is your team good? Diluc, Kuching, Venti, Jean. Yeah, I would say your team is really good. Planning on focusing on Diluc, but you don't know who to focus next, Jean or Kuching. It depends on if you need damage or if you need healing. I would say if your team needs the healing, focus Jean. I really would say overall, you can't go wrong focusing on Jean because you're building her attack to benefit healing. So you really can't go wrong leaning into Jean, but if you feel like your healing is already good and what you need is DPS straight out, then I would build your Kuching as a secondary DPS and lean into it hard.
Can one see the true world around them?
Okay, so out of the 4-star single sword characters, I'd have to look at the roster on those. Honestly, there's not to me, I would say probably Bennett is probably my favorite of the 4-star single-hand sword characters right now. I don't have him. I wish I did. I don't really... My favorite single-hand sword character right now is Kuching. If I had her, she would be in my party. I would definitely bump Baidal for her. But I just don't have her right now. But as far as 4-stars go, like the depth isn't really there. I would say Bennett for sure. You're so jealous of my voice. I appreciate it, Hamim. What if I did take a bit of Paimon and get the best stats to fight a boss?
Foretelling one's written destiny.
Just like a little taste for a buff. Team comp currently Mona main DPS, Venti, Xiangling, and Fish. Is that good? Yeah, that should be a really good team overall. I imagine that your Xiangling is probably elemental mastery in that situation, so that your reactions, your vaporizes are probably a little punchier. That should be a pretty good setup, especially if your Fischl is also set up for that. Although you could also have your Fischl set up as a secondary DPS to kind of bolster your Mona's unfavorable matchups, which is good. They should make an achievement to run out of food called Don't Eat Paimon. If they made that an achievement, I would try to get it. Hell, they should definitely make that into just like a name card. If they had a Don't Eat Paimon name card, I would use it. Shot me a sub. Thank you. I appreciate it, T-Park. I really do. Thank you. Switched out your Barbara for Jean and gave her R2 Aquila. Oh, you have Aquila Favona R2. Nice. So you think you'll focus on her, then for Spiral, you guess you can split them up. Yeah, that's what I do. I have a C6 Barbara, and I split Jean and Barbara up for the Spiral Abyss, and it's really, really, really effective that way. And now my Jean is obviously, she's got a lot more build into her than my Barbara does right now, but Barbara's still very effective overall, because at C6 she can resurrect, and no other characters can do that in the Spiral Abyss. Legend says that Reroller is still re-rolling for Kuching. I think some people are definitely still doing that. I feel sorry for them because the game has been out for 3 weeks. Just play it already. You'll have more fun. Re-rolling... Oh god, I couldn't imagine if I were still re-rolling this game 3 weeks in, I'd be so frustrated. Do I recommend to use all fragile resins on a domain if you reach AR 40? That's definitely playing the long game. You're going to have a lot of those at 40, but I think that your road to 40 is going to be very challenging if you're not building out in the meantime. I think there's compelling arguments for either way. It's kind of depending on if you want to have your characters continuing to feel strong or evenly strong throughout your gameplay, or if you want to just suddenly get stronger slowly once you reach AR 40. So here's the other thing is, If you use your resins along the way, you're going to level up into that AR-40 a little faster. And you're also going to be using that all the while you do bosses and other things like your weekly bosses, like your Andarius or Andreas and Dvalin every week. So you're going to get some depth in artifacts from that anyways. But if you hold all of your resins for AR-40 and then just go crazy on domains, there is a small percent chance that you could just get completely screwed and RNG into terrible artifacts anyways, and then you saved all of those for nothing. At least if you use them all the while, like, you know what you got for them, which is you got those early AR level advancements. You know, you push through some of the achievements in the adventure guide that will give you, you know, guaranteed artifacts and things like that that should help give you the depth that you need to grow safely. So on a personal level, I don't really like the level 40 save strategy, but it works for some people. But it's kind of like, you know, the RNG, just like you know, the wish system. Like you're putting a lot of faith in getting returns for that. Okay, let me see here. How do I feel about Ningguang lore-wise and kit usability-wise? I think Ningguang actually is a very good damage dealer. I think you need to be very careful not to use her ult unless you have her E already ready to go, because it does a lot more damage if your E is off cooldown. There's, I think from a lore standpoint, I think Ningguang is a really interesting character, but we haven't really gotten to dive deep into her in the story yet. I'm really looking forward to the next chapter so that we can finally actually get to see her interact with other characters and get a better sense of her overall personality. She is a character whose like story lore I do want to dig into in the future, though. She's definitely interesting. Why so many people asking how good are his lineup? Just Lear all elemental reaction, you can find your answer. In the beginning, Paimon is pet and she's emergency food. Yeah, she's basically a mascot emergency food. Do you think they will give more resin? Because I think we need more than 120. I think it would be nice at 400 or something better. I think 400 would be a lot. I think that would definitely, like, if you're going to press forward hoping that they're going to give us 400 resin, you might be setting yourself up for disappointment. I think 200 would be very reasonable. I do think 120 is low. I try not to focus much on the negatives of things, but I will say that I do think that that 120 is a little low. I think 200 would be reasonable. I think 300 or 400 would be excessive. I think that the reason why the resin is currently set up to be low is to stop us from completely blowing out the game and actually having nothing to do, whereas right now, with the resin system set up the way it is, you know, you end up waiting to do stuff to some degree till the next day, right? But because you don't have any resin, but you do have things you can do. You can go farm ascension materials. You can go farm, you know, just other enemies that you need for character level up materials or weapon level up materials. There are definitely things that you can do in the absence of resin, whereas if they had a higher resin number, you're going to hit the end, right? You're going to continue to progress through all the dungeons faster. You're going to hit all your artifacts and you're not going to need the growth anymore. So you're going to be in a position where you could literally top out, have nothing left to min-max, and just put the game down until the next update. Right now, with the resin limiting you, your chances of having absolutely zero to do are pretty slim. What do you think about Kuching, Klee, Noelle, and Venti? Kuching, Klee, full build DPS when Klee releases. I think that those two characters from experience synergize well together. You're going to have a lot of good overall reaction. Mona is poor. Yeah, she definitely is. From a lore standpoint, yeah, she doesn't want to use her astrology, which is her natural talent, to make money, so it kind of puts her in a bind. she's definitely one of those characters, like, it seems like from what little story we have of her, to where she definitely has like a little bit of like a smug attitude, but at the same time she's also very honorable about the way she handles her astrology. So, you know, she's actually able to get a good insight into, you know, an individual's past or future, and instantly knows things about people that, you know, ordinary people couldn't tell. That's an ability that somebody could definitely use to get ahead in the world, but she refuses to do it for anything other than just getting more devices to further her career, or not her career, but rather her curiosity, really, in regards to her astrology, more than her actual ability to make money from it. So that's definitely an honorable thing.
Fate is upon you.
That was a little glitchy. Oh, his foot was through my face, that's why. I knew I saw another target. I was wondering what that was about. Oh, I can't hit this guy. Oh, he's gonna slide down, isn't he? I'm gonna have to go up there.
Shadows of written in the stars.
Alright, re-rolling for Mona, just got Kuching. So I can understand why you know, if you were intentionally trying to get Mona, that would be upsetting. But keep in mind that Kuching is actually a very potent primary DPS as well. So if your long-term goal is just to achieve a strong output, you know, lead attacker, Kuching will not disappoint you. But I certainly wouldn't blame you if you wanted to continue to roll for Mona. I definitely, having had experience with the character before release, I knew exactly what I was missing when the game released. And the first 4 days before I got her were kind of brutal in the absence of Mona's utility as a agile lead DPS. Can you show us your maxed out statues and what that look like? Do you mean just like what the actual statues look like visually, or? Because I can definitely go over to one of those after I kill this guard. Not a big deal.
Eyes on me. Shadows of
I think I've only seen like 2 non-crits in all of these hits so far. Pretty much everything is just steady crit.
written in the stars.
Oh, 15k on that one. He didn't even really get to do anything. You re-rolled Venti plus Mona account and a Diluc plus Sucrose account. I would go with your Venti Mona account all day long. I don't even really think that that's a choice. You have a Mona account and you don't need it. Oof. Do I know if Mona has iframes on popping out of her swim? I don't think so. I think if you're talking about like the animation from exiting the swim, I don't believe that that is a iframe. But the initial moment that you go underneath is. But I think there was a time when, and I don't think they changed it, when you went straight up when you dashed, and at that time you would come up right underneath the enemies that you were trying to dodge, and if you panic dodged, you'd just stay in place, and you definitely didn't have an iframe on it at that time. I don't think that they've added one since that time, so I would suspect not. Let's see if I can actually just get this guy to hit me right out of it, maybe. Yeah, see, that still hit me, at least at the back side of that. Let's see if I can get him to do it again. Yeah, that one was a little late.
Wind, hear me.
Or a little early, rather. I'll try it one more time. That one still hit me. Yeah, I really don't think there's an iframe on the exit from that. I'd be really surprised if there ended up being one. She already has 2 iframes for the initial dodge and also from her lure anyways. So I'd really doubt that they'd give her a 3rd iframe for the exit.
Shadows of back at ya.
Mona Chi-Chi versus Mona Diluc. So, in that situation, I mean, you're kind of comparing like a healer against a DPS. It kind of depends on what you want there. If you're looking to go with more DPS output or having healing utility. Having Frozen is nice, but the problem with Chi-Chi's ability to actually place cryo is that they have to be really, really close to you, and that's the one place you do not want Mona to be, is close to your enemies. So I think Diluc might be the better bet there, and then focus on a different enemy or a different healer if you can. But I do think that Mona and Chi-Chi will have some beneficial interactions as well. It just, you know, now I kind of think maybe you should go with the Chi-Chi one, just because if you're comparing 2 rerolled accounts here, I would say going with the one that has DPS and healing is probably going to be the better way to go. You're gonna be relying on food if you don't have a healer on your Diluc one. So, what's my Mona build like? She's attack with critical, so she's using Solar Pearl, which is the Battle Pass weapon. And then she also has a crit rate mask with a Hydro bonus goblet. This produces a little over the soft cap of 80% critical. I'm at 83. And about 70% crit damage with a just shy of 1500 attack currently. Jean is your only 5-star. How should you build her as a main DPS with only 4 stars as support? Currently running Fischl, Kaya. Not sure about 4th. Sucrose maybe. The one thing I would warn you about, if you're going to use Sucrose as your 4th, I don't think she would be bad as a 4th, but beware, because you're going to be triggering the elemental resonance for Animo at that point. It increases movement speed, decreases stamina consumption, and reduces skill cooldowns. It's real easy to get addicted to that. I can tell you that from experience because I've been using it since day 2. And I really have a hard time adjusting when I don't have it, because you're so much slower and you get so much worse efficiency for your stamina. As far as building Jean, I would build her as straight attack in that situation, and that will, by extension, also increase the power of her heals, which is really nice. If you want to lean into having her elemental burst up a little bit more frequently, you can, instead of going attack substat or having attack as a main stat on her weapon, you can try to get a weapon that has energy recharge, and also trying to get as much attack and energy recharge in your substats as you can. That will definitely get you the best bang for your buck with your Jean. What do you think about Razor? I think Razor's good, but I mostly would only use him in the Spiral Abyss. I currently haven't utilized him in the Spiral Abyss, but that's just because I have some other characters that I've been focusing on. But I do think that I'm going to build him out at some point. But right now, Baidal's in my team already, so I just don't really need him. What's the best weapon for main MC, and how do you do more damage? What element are you focusing your main character on, George? Is Sucrose a good character? I think Sucrose can be a great character, especially if you build her as a primary support character. So, you know, leaning into Elemental Mastery. There's a little bit of nuance to a proper Sucrose build. I think there's some people out there who definitely know a little bit more about Sucrose than I, but I would say it's hard to go wrong with Elemental Mastery and Energy Recharge for a support character in general. And that's definitely going to help you ensure that you keep her Elemental Burst up as much as possible, which is really kind of the intent of the support characters in general. Oh, that did not go well. There we go.
Fate is upon you. To ashes.
Either one. You mainly use the first one they give you, so you're pretty much using Animo. I would say if you're trying to use your Animo Traveler as a primary DPS, then you're going to want to lean into, you know, basically attack as your primary. Because any character that you build as Elemental Mastery, you know, you're at that point you're pretty much relegating them to only doing damage when you swap to them to proc elemental reactions. So this is where you get into one of the nuances of the Animo element as a whole, though. So if you're trying to build an Animo character as a lead DPS, it's almost like you're pigeonholing them into not being good at swirl damage, because swirl damage benefits a lot from Elemental Mastery, and it doesn't really benefit from attack. So you're kind of gonna get you're gonna get good return. Like for instance, if you build a 4-piece gladiator set on main character Animo, you'll get good return for his regular attacks, but you'll get diminished return from your Palm Vortex. But Palm Vortex is a really, really potent skill if you build him as a support character, because of its capacity for spreading reactions en masse frequently, because it's, you know, an elemental skill as opposed to an elemental burst. So I kind of think it's like lead DPS is something you can build him into, but I don't necessarily think it's his ideal role, if that makes sense. How far out do I think the Discord server is? I'm goaling right now to have it out next week. Try harder. Hopefully by this time next weekend is kind of my goal. If everything goes the way I'm planning, I'm kind of gonna launch it at the same time as my Saturday night stream next week. So that will be kind of my go-to goal there. So yeah, I'll be letting people know during that stream if everything goes right, how to get into it. I won't be probably conversing in it during the stream because it would just be hard for me to do that. But afterwards, you know, I'll begin to, you know, share some of my in-progress stuff and any of the other content stuff that I intend to discuss there. Would I recommend investing in Noelle? If so, as DPS or support? I would recommend investing in Noelle as support. But here's the thing is that Noelle can be very easily built to her strengths, but also built as a hybrid DPS with a 4-piece gladiator set. If you can get a 4-piece gladiator set that's focused around defense in both its primary and substats, then you kind of get the best of both worlds, where you have really good damage output for her and also really good healing. And her level 70 talent allows her to reduce the cooldown of her breastplate ability by getting 4 hits out. And it reduces her cooldown on breastplate by 1 second each time you achieve 4 hits. So basically, in the upper levels, when you have a high stamina pool, you'll be able to have this situation where you can just spin and cut the cooldown of breastplate in half. And at that point, she's always giving you heals. She's always giving you shields. She's actually a much better character for both damage and support at the same time than a lot of people give her credit for. So. That would be my recommended build for her. It would be a 4-piece gladiator with defense, if you can get it. It wasn't really hard for me to get, but it's RNG, and I'm trying to build her out that way now. Really, the only thing I'm missing is just I don't have very many artifacts to do it with. What do I think you need to make Lisa main DPS? What other DPS characters do you have? I think Lisa actually can be used as a good primary DPS, but you do need to try to have characters that are good for setup, because she can really only get her charged E out, you know, sparingly, because she's, you know, really an easy target when you're trying to use that ability. So she's kind of got that inherent weakness there. So you want a character that can set, like a character like Chung Yun and Barbara or something, so that you can just freeze everybody so that they can't move, and then you can charge up that blast. That can be a very effective way to get her going. You can also, if you have like a character like Venti, you can use his E ability to like lift everybody up into the air and knock them down prior. Or even characters like Noelle, you can just, you know, start a spin and immediately release it and knock all the small and medium enemies down, and then charge ability there as well. There's a bunch of characters that you can use to set. What do I think about Jean? I think Jean's one of the best characters in the game. Leon. She's, you know, you can kind of get like this awkward situation with Jean where, you know, you build her as attack, and then all of a sudden you have this good hybrid secondary DPS who also heals for really big numbers. If you have Jean, I can't think of any compelling reasons not to use her. For reasons exactly what I just did to those enemies. Do I think Zhao will underperform compared to other 5-star DPS carries as a result of being Animo and lacking swirl? It's hard to say, Zhang. I think... I don't know, it's really hard to say at this point because I haven't actually gotten first-hand experience with Zhao because I wasn't in CBT2. So I think that he's gonna kind of be in a weird outlier position. But I do think his DPS is going to be really high. It was high in CBT2 from the people who played it there. I think he will still be high today, or not today, but when he does come out. When building a second team, is it better to focus on artifacts or levels? I'm fighting level 60 plus enemies with a 40 Ningguang, and she's mopping them because of her 5-star piece. So you kind of get good returns from both. So here's the thing about going with levels as opposed to artifacts. Levels are basically guaranteed. There's not really RNG about that. You just farm the materials and then you've got it. Artifacts have so many variables involved with whether or not you even can get an artifact that you need that has the substats that you want, that has the primary stat that you want. I would usually say focus levels first, artifacts second. Should you use Lisa instead of Mona? No. I would say Mona is going to be the better lead DPS all day long in a comparison between the two. Reason being you have both Chi-Chi and Jean. If you have Chi-Chi and Jean, I would still go Jean, personally. She does more damage, and she has that oh crap button. Like, if everybody's about to die, you just tap Q and everybody's friggin' back to full health again. You have so many situations that she can just bail out your whole party instantly with that it's so great. What character synergizes well with Venti and Chi-Chi? Honest to goodness, pretty much every character in the game synergizes well with Venti, just some synergize better with Venti. So say for instance, I would say mages as a whole, all of them synergize better with Venti than characters who are melee in nature, because the elemental burst creates that giant vortex and sucks them up into the air, and then melee characters cannot hit them while they're up there, whereas a mage can just continue to spread elemental reaction on every normal attack, still striking them for all of them. I would say any mage will work great with Venti. Other characters, you have to set those reactions first and then kind of hope that they don't get away from you afterwards. Lisa as support, that's actually probably, like, she's not a bad lead DPS if that's what you want to use her for, but I think she's better as a supporter because, you know, you can set reactions with your main DPS and then try to knock everybody down and then just swap to her on an Elemental Mastery build and deal big damage from her charged E. I think that that's a better role for Lisa. Yeah, you like the oh crap button, huh? What do you think about Razor and Barbara? I think Razor and Barbara have a good synergy naturally because you know, Electro and Hydro work together nicely. You don't really have any... I mean, so your DPS output in that situation is going to be a little low. If Razor is your primary DPS, but there are certain situations where Razor can be built to be a primary DPS as well. Kuching or Razor? Kuching all day long. Kuching is one of the highest DPS characters in the game. Do I give relationship advice? I do not. Should you farm for artifacts before AR-45? I did farm for artifacts before AR-45. I basically just felt out when I needed it. If I felt like I was kind of languishing, like my character's damage output was struggling, I farmed artifacts because it was time. I didn't really feel like it was necessary or proper to wait. Because I'm just making everything harder for myself if I wait in that instance. Whereas I could go and farm artifacts, hope for some good RNG, and then get some upgrades that would, you know, see my characters actually get stronger sooner, as opposed to waiting until 45. I understand that, like, if you wait till 45, you're more likely to get some high quality artifacts in, you know, in the 4 and 5 star variety. However, I started farming them early, and I still have all 4 and 5 star artifacts on the characters that matter anyways. So you can still have good artifacts if you start farming in, you know, the AR-35 area. You really can. What do I think about pull Venti banner or wait for new banner Klee? Leon, it'll really depend in that situation which element you need depth in. I mean, here's one of the other important things to point out is that really Animo is kind of an auxiliary element, and by that I mean it's kind of geared around DPS output support as opposed to direct application damage, whereas Pyro is a direct application. So do you ever really need Animo? No. But is it really nice to have? Absolutely it is. And, you know, Animo can bail you out of situations that other characters can't due to its ability to control. For instance, you know, Venti can pull everybody into a central point for you to just blast the crap out of them in this viral abyss. Whereas characters like Klee, you know, she can kind of create a wall with her mines, but she's not going to give you that space that an Animo character can. And she can't lure them all into one location. But if you have both of those characters together at the same time, you can get some really nice potent reactions. I hit that way too early. You know what? I'm just going to burn an ult. I really do need to finish building out my Fischl. I've been feeling like I should push Baidal out and just put her sword on Changyun. She's good, but I feel like I need to build my Fischl. I really do. I need that steady electro-charged reaction. I think will really be beneficial at this point, especially now that I'm in world level 5. The enemies are a lot harder than they used to be. Support Kaya and Amber. Keep DPS as is. Who's your DPS? Oh wait, hold on. I think I missed the line. I feel like you're investing in too many artifacts into just Fischl and Traveler. You only have Kaya and Amber in the back. Not sure about Barbara or Noelle or Razor. What level are you right now, Mobius Star? Out of curiosity. Kaya has 20% more stamina when running with him. Yeah, so Kaya actually passes that on to everybody in his party as well. So you do get that very beneficial increased stamina efficiency, which is really, really nice when you need to dodge, because I don't know about you guys, but I still find myself stamming out in some of the more difficult battles, especially in the Spiral Abyss. I definitely find myself sitting on 0 stamina a lot. 24. Okay, so you definitely have some wiggle room to where you're not at a point where you absolutely are at the make and break point of, you know, over investing in a character yet. So far as you're not, you know, blasting, you know, a whole bunch of characters above 40, you're fine. for now. You should still find yourself having lots of materials and all that to build, you know, whatever characters that you need. Let me see. You said you were currently using Fischl and Traveler. That's already going to be a pretty potent situation. And generally speaking, kind of like the go-to goal is to lead 2 characters into each range. So this isn't to say leave everybody else behind and have a whole bunch of level 10 characters and then everybody else is 70 and 80. Just focus on 2 first. So for instance, like I got to world level 5 when I hit 40. I had everything I needed to get Mona and Jean to 80 right away. They're my 2 primaries. But then I still have Venti and Baidal at 70. It benefits you to have a rounded party, because if you lose one of your other 2 characters that are strong, or God forbid both, you don't want to be pretty much in the situation where you just have to abandon the fight altogether. You just want to focus 2 characters first to make sure that you get that power upgrade when you hit that next world level. That's kind of where the balancing act comes into play as far as continuing to progress your characters into each world level. Is 32 a make and break point? Yeah, I would say 32 is a lot closer to the make or break point. I would say 36 is or 35 rather, is like the hard break. Like, okay, at this point, like, barring that you roll some kind of new character that changes your entire team synergy that you really need to build or want to build, at 35, you probably should have a good idea who your core is, because at that point, you know, you're building your characters above 60, and all of the upgrades above 60 are very pricey. They really do use quite a lot of materials, and at that point it's pretty unforgiving. Yeah, not a problem, Mobius. I'm glad I could help. Which upgrades do you think we should prioritize when talking resin efficiency? You feel like your maxing talents are way better than weapons and even level. So talents are definitely really, really helpful. This is another one of the things where I would say focus on 2 characters as well, because if you try to level the talents on all of your characters simultaneously, you're just going to find yourself not being able to level any of them very far. So for me, I pretty much have focused on Mona and Jean's talents, and everybody else has kind of lackluster talent depth right now, just because I don't really have what I need to level up everybody else's. Talents are definitely important, but I would say they're definitely not more important than having good weapons and artifacts, but they are important. Definitely try to get them leveled up as much as you can, and make sure that you focus on the right ones for your team. So if you have, you know, if you're going to focus on the talents on your main DPS, and if your main DPS's damage output is pretty much squarely focused on their normal attacks, then make sure that you put focus into the normal attack talent as opposed to their elemental burst. And vice versa, if you're leveling up the talents on a support character that's mostly focused on that elemental burst, then, you know, you'll want to probably focus into getting depth on that one above all the other ones. Should you use Chongyun instead of Noelle? So they have different roles, I think, Chongyun and Noelle. Noelle is, you know, pretty much a support utility character, which provides heals and shields, while also providing a lot of utility through knockdowns. Whereas Chongyun gives you status changes, frozen. He gives you electrocharged if you pair him with not electrocharged, but superconduct if you pair him with electro characters. So you're getting debuffs and CC from him. So they're very different roles, really. It kind of depends on what you want or what you need, or what you kind of feel like you have a weak spot for in your party right now. You feel like you still have time between 35 and 40. So let's see. Here's the problem. In between 35 and 40 is when most people are going to start running out of artifacts if you're leveling up, you know, a core team. I certainly have kind of hit the bottom for spare artifacts. At this point, I have to run my daily grind routes like with assurance to make sure that I go get some, you know, free artifacts, otherwise I won't get progress on the day.
and I am AR 40, but that happened to me around 38, maybe 39. I pretty much was bottomed out. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, you got it, Sutton. Yeah, no level to reason. Yeah, you wouldn't. There's not really a compelling reason to level base attack talent on Xiangling if you're using her as a support. Yeah, it's not really going to help you. Is it worth focusing to get 5-star Wolf Sword? If your primary DPS is a Claymore, then yes. I have it at 2nd refinement, and it's very, very, very potent. Do you need it? No, but it is really, really helpful.
Astrologers must rid
If you are in a situation where you can afford to do that comfortably, it will not disappoint you if you get it. I can definitely tell you that. Because I definitely am glad I have it. It's kept Baidal in my party probably longer than she had any business remaining in it, to be very honest with you. Because this weapon is really, really good, and it bolsters her abilities overall. Is Jean, Mona, Baidal, Sucrose a good team? Or do you switch Baidal for Fischl? Fischl is max constellation. Yosue, if I had C6 Fischl, my Baidal, even though I have the Wolf Sword, would probably not be in my team anymore. My Fischl is C5. So I haven't quite gotten her there yet, but as soon as I do, I'm gonna be setting her up with a heavy hitting elemental mastery build, and she's probably gonna replace my Baidal, and I'm gonna probably move that sword over to Chongyun for whenever I need him. Oh no, it's fine. I'm not worried about I'm not worried about answering a lot of questions. That's kind of why I do this, is, pretty much just to have a Q&A for everybody who has any questions. It's really my pleasure to answer them. I got no problem with it. Ow, that hurt. That was not supposed to happen like that. Alright, let's just go ahead and finish this guy off. Do I think a C0 official is still good as a DPS? If you have a C0 official, I don't know if she's a compelling choice. She's an absolute choice. I don't even think that, especially if you have Mona, I don't think there's any question at C6. And even if you don't, she's still a very good primary DPS at C6. If you don't have characters like Mona, she can definitely still fill in as a primary. Let's see. How much have I spent on the game? I don't know if I want to say. I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, yeah, I spent this much money on the game. I don't want to be that guy. Can I show my Mona and Jean builds? Sorry if I do this too often. I do it a lot on every stream, but that's fine. Yeah, I'll show you after I finish off these mobs. I got no problem doing that.
Time for takeoff.
This cryo guy's gonna track me. Yep. Alright, let's see. So for my Mona build, it's the weapon is the Solar Pearl, the Battle Pass weapon, which is level 80 currently. And for artifacts, I've got 2-piece Gladiator, 2-piece Berserker, with this 1 Exile piece on attack. For substats, I've tried to get as much crit rate and crit damage as possible. I do have energy recharge on this piece, which is an added bonus because at level 70 she gets a passive bonus to hydro bonus damage with energy recharge, so that's always nice. I do have hydro bonus damage as the goblet focus, Still energy recharge as a secondary stat on this. This is probably the worst piece I have in my set right now, though, because the substats are just not great. I do want to replace this, but I'm wanting to stick with Hydro bonus damage. When using Solar Pearl, you do want to use a crit rate mask, though. You want to have a crit rate mask. If you don't, then you're not going to really get the best output from the Solar Pearl. Basically, you want to try to make sure you're critting as many hits as you can. If you can hit the soft cap at 80%, you're going to be in a really good spot. For Jean, I have her set up as an attack flat. So she's got attack 18%, 2-piece Sojourner with energy recharge from the Exile. But she also has a second refinement Skyward Blade, which helps her to recharge her ultimate really, really fast. Let's see. Sad that you play on mobile. Yeah, I mean, hey, at least you can play, right, Luna? I've played the game on my iPhone a reasonable amount over the last couple of weeks, and while it's not ideal, I'm definitely glad I'm able to do it. I definitely prefer to play on my computer, but I'm definitely happy I can play it on my phone when I want to. Let's see. Is 1.2k damage good for Razor at level 60? For his attack, that seems okay. It might be a touch low. I want to say around level 60 for my if for my primary DPSs, I was starting to touch about 1.5k. But if you're having bad luck with artifacts, that can happen. Let's see, your main character is Kuching, your AR 24 at the moment, and you have Jean and Diluc today. Advice. Put Kuching, Jean, and Diluc all in your party together. They're all fantastic characters. They'll all synergize together very well. Build Kuching as I would say as an attack straight, so maybe a 4-piece gladiator set when you can get one. But you can go with energy recharge is not bad for her, but straight attack is probably best. Attack and critical is even better. If you can get the battle pass sword on your Kuching and crit like every hit. I've seen some videos where people went with critical builds on Kuching and she was able to pretty much just spam her charged attack and destroy things like the fire and cryo Regicide in seconds. So she's very capable with the right build. Then you could also build Diluc out as a support or a secondary DPS. If you wanted to build him as a secondary DPS to kind of fill the gaps where Kuching can't kill stuff for you, then you could build him as attack with energy recharge as a secondary stat, and his elemental burst will just be up all the time. And that will make both of them have even more synergy to one another. And the great thing about Jean is you can just build her, again, also just like the Diluc as a secondary DPS. So when you have Jean, you have this unique situation where you can actually have a secondary DPS and then Jean, who is a hybrid heal third DPS, because you want to build her with as much attack as possible to get the maximum scaling for your heals. And through doing that, you also get a great return on attack. If you can get something like the Skyward Blade, or if you have one, this weapon is basically made for her, because you really don't have to try very hard at all to keep the oh crap button ready to go. Okay, let's see. How viable is MC on a team current versus other characters? I think Animo MC is really good, even into late game. I think if you want to build Animo MC, you really won't have any problems with doing that, especially if you lean into the support and use the swirl to its fullest. When will I give you an updated theory? I have a lot of thoughts on. I've got probably 4 or 5 other theories that I'm kind of slowly working notes on and kind of trying to write towards completion. But it's going to be a little while. The theories are they're my slowest timetable. And by that I mean I have to do even more research for the theories than I have to do for the lore videos, because with the theory videos you really have to check to make sure that there are facts that aren't immediately contradictory to what it is that you're writing, because if it's contradictory towards it, then the theory immediately has no legs, right? Because it's immediately false. So you have to check and then double check and triple check to make sure that there's not other things that immediately prove it wrong. There can be circumstantial things that might be suggested but you can't prove that would disprove it, but nothing concrete. And that's the stuff that you have to find before you produce a theory video. As far as the lore stuff, you know, those are, you know, I have to do a lot of research for those, but it's not one of those situations where there's, you know, you're looking for contradictory information. Lore is lore. Like, as soon as you read a thing of facts, you can just start to build a mosaic out of who this character is, and then just assemble all those pieces into a narrative. Which, by the way, for anybody who wasn't in here when I first started the stream, I was talking about tomorrow I'm going to be releasing my next lore video. It's not quite complete yet, otherwise I would have had it out today. But it's the origins of sucrose, so expect that sometime around midday tomorrow. That's my goal right now. And speaking of which, to kind of try to keep myself on that goal, I'm going to probably wrap up the stream here in about 30 minutes so that I can get to bed at a reasonable time, so I can get up early and try to get that video done for you all by a reasonable time tomorrow. Let me see if I can get caught back up on the chat. I've fallen behind again. Let's see, what are the best mages, artifacts, and weapon? So it kind of depends on the role, that other guy. Depends on the role you want that mage to play. Because if you want them to be support, there's a specific build. If you want them as primary DPS, there's a specific build. If you want them as a secondary DPS, there's even a slightly different build than as if you were building them as primary. And then availability is another matter. What weapons you have available to you will also dictate what build you want to go with. Because if you have a Solar Pearl, then there's a specific build you want to build. If you don't and you have Eye of Perception, there's a specific build to support that to get the best return from that. If you have Skyward Atlas, there's another build for that. So there's different situations based on what you want and what you have. How about build Elemental Mastery on Animo MC to make more damage? I would say that is going to be your best case scenario for MC. Build him Elemental Mastery and laugh, because everything will die. It's really, really good. Mr. Andriano, you shall subscribe for that. I appreciate it. Thank you. Swirl is so strong, lol. Yeah, I agree. That's why I keep 2 Swirl characters in my party on the regular. Swirl is a really, really good element, and it synergizes well with all of the other elements. And the other thing to remember is that Swirl doesn't just react with the, you know, one element that you shoot it at. It reacts with all elements that you shoot at it. So if you have on one side of your screen an enemy that you made wet, and an enemy on the other side of your screen that you know, affected with cryo, then when you swirl the 2 of them, they're going to both be frozen, in addition to the fact that they took swirl damage. So you get the benefit of joining the reactions. So you effectively just had 3 elemental reactions at play instead of the normal 2. It's a really, really good element. It's an element that you don't need, but when you have it and you get used to having it, it's really hard to not have it afterwards. Will I be pulling for Klee? I'm thinking at this time, because Pyro is the element I have the least depth in. Yes, right now it is my intent to roll for Klee. Razor permanent on shop, can buy it for 1 month. I think that he probably will not always be permanent on the shop, but he is on there for this month. He is on mine as well, but I don't think he'll be staying on there. I think at the end of this period, he'll probably go away, and it'll be replaced with somebody else. Can you use Venti as a semi-DPS? Do you mean as like a secondary DPS, Christian? In general, I would suggest that you don't do that, just because it will cause you to not get very good return from his elemental burst. When you use swirl and enemies with wooden shields are next to torches. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do, Mobius. Especially, like, I love to, if you're next to torches, you don't even have to, you know, use any other elements. You can just set things on fire with Gene. It's always fun. You just run up next to the torch and light them up. I threw them in the opposite direction, so I did not get that benefit.
Time for takeoff. Let me
Can elemental damage crit? Yes, it can. What is my Mona build right now? It's attack and critical. It's built around the Solar Pearl with Hydro Damage Goblet and Critical Mask. If you're going to use Solar Pearl on any mage as a primary DPS, you want to definitely make sure that you get a lot of critical. If you don't get close to the crit cap, or at least I would say at least 70% crit, you're not really going to get a good return from the Solar Pearl or the other weapons like it from the Battle Pass. If you don't have really high crit rate, you're better off just using a straight attack build, because you won't get very good returns for it. Yeah, not a problem, Mark. I'm glad I could answer your question. I'm sorry if you were asking that one for a while. It's a little hard for me to keep up with the chat sometimes. You just rolled Chi-Chi. How to build. So Chi-Chi's heal scale on attack. So you can pretty much just lean into energy recharge and attack just like you would with Jean. If you have a Skyward Sword, I would recommend using it on her, but if not, then any other sword that has energy recharge is still going to be your best bet. And then straight attack after that, just to maximize the effectiveness of her heals. Do you think you can use similar builds for Klee and Mona? I know you can use exactly the same build for Klee and Mona. From experience, I've used the same build on both of them at high level, and they both have similar performance. They both have a really high threshold for output compared to the entire rest of the roster. They really are. Mona and Klee and Keqing are pretty much the highest DPS output characters that I've seen put together. And I've dealt with them, from experience as well. They definitely shine when you build them right. Ah, come on, this guy ran out of stamina. How about Diluc basic build? Where to focus on? If your intent is to have Diluc as your primary DPS, it's really hard to go wrong with energy recharge and attack. That's really going to give you the best return, I think, on a Diluc, because his, for one, his E ability does come up pretty fast, which is nice, so you get a lot of return for his fire damage, but if you can get a 4-piece gladiator set when it is not up, you will still get really good non-elemental damage, which also gives Diluc the ability to remain effective against enemies of the same elemental type, which is always a nice added benefit. When you have unfortunate same element matchups, you can get stuck sometimes, and Diluc's really good at sidestepping that when you build him with a gladiator set. And then when he has, like I said, energy recharge on top, then all the better. You're just going to be in those situations where his elemental burst is just almost always up, and that's always a good situation to be in. Diluc's ult buff attacks 2, I think, yeah. I'm not sure if I understand the question on that. Is it night at my place? Yeah, it's very late here. It's midnight. It's actually a quarter after midnight now. Yeah, I'm on the East Coast. How important are constellation perks? I feel like I feel compelled to roll a character I don't really like using, even though they are really good with so many of those extra perks. So I would say don't get too hung up on constellations. There are some characters who come to life with constellations, and then there are some characters who just get a little better. There are some characters that are good with or without constellations, but there are definitely some characters who become crazy good with them. Like, for instance, Fischl is not really that compelling a choice without constellations, but if you can get all 6, she's really good. She's definitely like a really compelling choice all the way through endgame, if you can get a C6 build on her. Whereas like I have C6 Xiangling and C6 Barbara, and I don't use either of them. Jean is definitely still, to me, a more effective healer in my party that I have now. Because I don't need Barbara for wet reactions because I have Mona, so that doesn't really benefit me. Barbara's already a good healer, so having a Hydro Resonance doesn't really benefit me either. Because then you're just increasing the percentage of heals that she's giving that you don't need an increased percentage on because you're already getting full heals from them anyways. So it's kind of a wasted resonance. Yeah, the Resurrection is nice, but with Jean having her Elemental Burst up so much, I don't really need it because I don't die that much anyways. So I just don't worry about that at all. Yeah. Is Ningguang a good DPS? Ningguang can be a fantastic DPS. And one of the things that people tend to overlook about characters like Ningguang is if you have her in your party, you don't really need a Claymore character because she can do everything that they can because she's Geo. She can break rock walls easily, she can break rock materials easily, and she can break characters that carry shields way faster than characters who aren't Geo. Yeah, so you can basically, like, if you are having a hard time, you know, forming a team and you're wondering about what character you can fit into, like, if you have 2 Claymore characters or something and you don't really want to replace them because of the utility that they offer, you could definitely afford to replace it with Ningguang and lose none of that utility. And she's definitely, like, her attack speed is fast. So she's got a very similar output threshold to characters like Ningguang and Mona. Not quite as good, but still very good. Her ultimate is really strong. It really is. It occurred to me I asked you to deal with shields without a pyro character when you have a Claymore user right there. Yeah, I mean, so I have 2 ways, Mobius, to deal with shields on this party. One, I use Baidal sometimes, but Mona's E ability is a lure, so usually I just throw it and then slide around to the back of him and just attack him from behind, and that works just fine all day long. That's usually my primary method for dealing with shield users. And then if I don't manage to kill them by the time the lure goes down, I mean, the cooldown isn't that long anyways, but at that time I usually just swap to Baidal and beat on them until it comes back up. And usually they're already dead by that time anyways. Alright, let's see. Really debating rolling Venti banner to try and get more official constellations, but you kind of want to see what the other 4 stars are in the new Klee banner. Anyone know new 4 stars in rate up? I couldn't tell you what the new rate up 4-star characters are going to be. I still haven't even seen any official announcements. Correct me if I'm wrong about what the next banner is going to be. Pretty much everybody's just assuming it's going to be Klee because they dropped that little trailer with her in it. And the beta tests, the previous beta tests did go to Klee after Venti. So it kind of makes sense that they would keep that consistency, but so I am not expecting any surprises there. Alright, where'd this guy go? Where is he? Did he die or something? Oh, there he is. He's still invisible. Oh, he tried. He tried. Prototype Raincore is insane. Prototype Raincore is actually a very good weapon, I agree. If you have it, it's you know, one of the better weapons you can build out. Is the new banner out on the official Twitter. Is it? I somehow missed that. When did that come out, Weebmaster? Somebody misposts on German server. Klee with Sucrose, Zingcha, and Noelle. Interesting. That gives me even more reason to want to roll on that one, because I would like to have constellations for Sucrose and Noelle. That would be nice. If you build her for physical damage, Rancor is okay. She wastes the physical percent if you play with her E normally. I agree. Lion's Roar is a generally better weapon for Kuching if you have one. What is it? The Black Sword, the one from the Battle Pass. It's definitely getting late. I'm starting to lose my brain here a little bit. I'm sorry, guys. As I get more tired in the evening, I definitely lose a little bit of my capacity for articulation. Black Sword or Lion's Roar for Kuching? I would say Black Sword with a critical build on Kuching is actually going to produce better than Lion's Roar. But from experience, I can say that Lion's Roar does work well. But I would say Lion's Roar is comparative to building Mona with the Eye of Perception, which I've already completed tests on that says that the Solar Pearl is better. So I imagine that within the same circumstances, the Black Sword should still outperform the Lion's Roar. Tazel, I don't really have good depth in fire characters, so I am not built around Vaporize. I don't have Diluc. I'm going to be trying to get Klee and see how I can how I can work around that. I'm not going anywhere just yet, Mobius. I'm going to be hanging out for about another 10 minutes yet. Build Eye of Perception for Mona. Eye of Perception is not a bad build for Mona at all. You can still get really good damage out of it, but it is not as good as building with the Solar Pearl. If you can build a proper crit build around the Solar Pearl, you'll get better DPS output than you will with the Eye of Perception. Alright, this guy is driving me crazy with these thorns. Solar Pearl OP. I don't know if it's OP, but it's really good. Klee, Xingqiao, Noelle, Sucrose. Yeah, I think that that's going to be a good banner. If that's really what it is, I'm excited for that. That definitely sounds pretty ideal to me. I am kind of in this weird spot where I'm torn between continuing to roll on the normal banner for the chance of getting a Skyward Atlas, just because I want to do test numbers for everyone on that. But I just don't have I don't have the primos for that right now. So I think right now I'm gonna probably go for Klee so that I can get some depth in Pyro. When exactly did they post that? I don't know how I missed that. 'Cause I am subscribed to their Twitter. Do I think there will be a Diluc banner? I think during, like, you know, periods of time where there's like a long space since there's been any new 5-star characters, they may explore the idea of having banners for the existing 5-star roster. But I think it might be a little while. I wouldn't expect any of those I wouldn't expect like Mona, Kuching, Diluc, Jean banners or anything like that anytime soon for rate up. God. He had like no health left. I just kept trying to one-tap him and he just wouldn't go down. Let me just go ahead and get a heal here real quick. There's a Facebook post. Okay. I don't know that I am following them on. No, I'm definitely following them on Facebook. I don't know. I don't know. I must just be sleeping on the job or something. I don't know. You hope to get Kuching in the future, so you can't decide to take Black Sword or Solar Pearl if you get Mona too. I mean, both of those characters will be easily buildable as a primary DPS with whichever weapon, so I would say if you're trying to decide which Battle Pass weapon to take and you don't have either character yet, then take the one that you want for whichever character you hope to get most. You can always wait to take it until the last day as well to try to stretch it out as long as possible as well. That wouldn't necessarily be a wrong thing to do. Is having Sucrose, Diluc, Mona, and Ningguang a good team? That's a lot of mages in one team. I feel like you're gonna come up against a lot of... you're gonna come up... I don't know, that's a weird party to me. I think it could be strong, but I think that there's gonna be situations where it could go phenomenally bad. Like against, say... Let's see. Yeah, if you were against like a hydro elemental abyss mages, you might have trouble in that party because you're not really gonna have anything that'll help you bust his shield. You can use Diluc non-elemental, but it will go slow. So that would be the only thing that you could really do is just kind of slowly pluck at that shield. There might be some other instances where you could get stuck in that as well. How to unlock your FPS beyond 60? I actually haven't tried to do that yet, Rolled. I'd actually be interested in knowing how people are doing that, if somebody's doing that. Just because, like, I have 144, or actually I have 160 hertz monitor, and playing at 60 kind of hurts my soul. You have Diluc, Chongyun, Xiangling, and Barbara in your team. You're waiting on Fischl to swap Chongyun and Fischl in and out accordingly. So that's actually something that I kind of do, Dry Chicken, as well. Is I kind of swap Venti out for Fischl or Chongyun, kind of like on an as-needed basis. So yeah, that's a good idea. They posted Twitter a couple of minutes ago for the new banner. It really is Klee Sucrose, Xingqiu, and Noelle. Good. That's really good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I'm definitely going to roll on that banner then. I'll probably be doing that tomorrow. When I face Hydro Abyss Mage, which element depletes shield fastest? Cryo. Tight as hell, you want Cryo for those instances. If you freeze those, if you freeze Hydro Abyss Mage, they lose their shield really fast. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, Fate. I didn't think there was any way to go above 60 FPS. There might be a way to do it through like I edits or something, but that might be against the terms of use. I'm not sure, so I wouldn't recommend doing it. I think I'll roll on that banner for Sucrose. If I get a Klee, that would be nice. Yeah, I wouldn't mind building out my Sucrose a little bit. I'd really like to do some test work with her in place of Venti just to see how it goes. Especially since I've been spending so much time with Sucrose lately, writing her story and getting specific shots and stuff for her lore video. Like it's one of those things where like once you start to work a story for a character, you kind of get to know them a little better and you start wanting to play them more. It's weird how that works. For all the characters that I've written stories for, and I've got a few stories that I haven't made videos for yet, but I've already written them. It definitely makes you want to play the characters more after you write their stories. Sorry if you missed the answer. Running Fischl main DPS. Mona, Venti, Barbara. You have Sucrose, Benny, Amber, Noelle, Lisa, Zhang, Chung, Kaya. Who would you sub for who? I would swap Mona and Fischl's roles. I would swap Mona to primary and Fischl as sub. And I would swap Barbara for Noelle. Because I don't really like... On a personal level, Carlos, I don't really like having Hydro Resonance just because it doesn't really benefit Barbara that much. She already heals characters to full really fast with her Elemental Burst. I understand it will help her E heal a little faster, but her Elemental Burst gets almost no benefit from it when she's built correctly. And as a result, it kind of makes me feel like that resonance is wasted. So I like to try to get more for my party choices. And in that instance, I would put in Noelle and use her as a support healer. Maybe in 1.1 they'll increase cap. Yeah, maybe. For the battle pass, which weapon should you get for coaching? Black sword. Karugia. Yeah, if you have coaching, I would get the black sword for your coaching for sure. Is it wise to level all of your characters? Karuko, I would level up only characters that you need at this point in time. So level up your core first, focus on them, and then also focus on the characters that you need for Spiral Abyss. So the only way to really find out the characters that you need for Spiral Abyss is to, you know, trial and error, go in there and see how your core performs. And then you can also try splitting your core into two for the 2 different floors for the higher levels of the Spiral Abyss. Once you've done that, all you can do after that is start filling out the gaps that you have from the remaining roster that you have on the bench. So at that will dictate the other characters that you need to level. And even at that point, you don't need to try to get them as high level as your core. A lot of the times in the Spiral Abyss, you can still do fine through, you know, into, you know, the upper levels of the Spiral Abyss, like, you know, floor 9 and stuff, with level 40 characters. You just have to have good artifacts for them. Fish will need constellation, damage, weapon, or attack. If you're using Fischl as support, you want elemental mastery. If you're using her as primary, you want attack weapons. Who's my favorite character? Mona. For sure, it's Mona. There's not even a question for me on that. For years, I've made characters in other games that look a lot like her. And when she popped up in this game, I had friends who were like, yeah, that's your kind of character for sure. So it was kind of one of those surprising things. It was definitely one of those surprises when I first saw the character. I was like, wow, okay, I definitely have made characters that look like this. Should you get Viridescent Bow for Venti? I want to say that's Elemental Mastery, is it not? That wouldn't be bad. But if you do get an Elemental Mastery focused weapon on Venti, then you want to make sure that you pick up energy recharge from somewhere. For that reason, I use the Stringless on my Venti for Elemental Mastery, and it also increases Elemental Mastery or Elemental Skill and burst damage. So, like I said, I pick up recharge through exile in the artifacts to balance that out. Mona DPS is so high. Wow, I main Mona, but I don't get close to 200 to 300 DPS at level 60. Yeah, it's just a matter of, you know, min-maxing the character. So kind of the focus that you hear a lot of people say is you want to focus on 2 characters, right? So to an extent, you know, that's definitely true. You do want to spread out some power. You want to try to make sure that you don't have, you know, really weak links at your party. But at the same time, you do want to make sure that your lead DPS gets the brunt of the best items. So, and that's definitely what I've tried to do with my Mona. She definitely has the best artifacts. Like, if I have a better artifact on a different character and then I get an artifact that I can pair it with, I'll give it to Mona all day long. Like, if I can steal it from a different character who's even from my core and it will benefit my Mona to take it, I'll do it all day long because it will up my primary DPS. If you use Jean mostly as a healer, should you stack attack or mix in healing percent? I stick to straight attack because it scales off attack anyways. Jean's one of those characters who can bail you out of some bad situations if you build her as an attacker. So I would recommend staying that way. I'm going to be wrapping up the stream in about 5 minutes, guys. So if you have any final questions to get in, now is the time to do it. If you were holding on to any questions or waiting and just listening for a little while, definitely go ahead and try to get them now. I'm gonna park my character somewhere safe and just kind of go into a rapid fire of question answering here in the final 5 minutes. Can't get more than 5 stars in Abyss 9th. Having a lot of trouble from those Fatui agent, especially that elite cryo gunner who got Frozen Claw. Yeah, ties to hell. I'm actually having a similar problem to you in there because I don't have a lot of depth from Pyro at all. And that is giving me some weak points in places that's resulting in me having to make, I would say, incompatible party choices going into the the second portion of the 9th floor. So yeah, I'm having a similar issue to you. That's why I'm leveling up Noelle, and I'm working on building her up so that I can replace Barbara from my team 2, so that she can fill in that gap. Who do I think is the best mage? I think Mona's the best mage. On a personal level, I think Klee is an extremely close second. Mona does a little less damage than Klee, but makes up for it by having phenomenal mobility by comparison. Klee doesn't really have anywhere close to the kind of mobility that Mona has. Klee does have the added benefit of just being short, so there are some characters who can't even hit her while she's close to them, which is kind of broken, but I think that that's probably something they'll fix. Spoiler alert question. Is Traveler still being suspicious of the Rex Lapis thing? Do you mean, are they still a suspect in the murder? I don't think so. I think the way the story ends, I think that Ningguang is actually going to tell us that she's been involved with the fake death plot for Rex Lapis. That's what I suspect it's going to be, but only time will tell. Let's see. You've got Barb's, Razor, Venti, Fischl, Noelle, and Xiangling as free-to-play roster. Who and how should I build up a primary team? I would build Fischl as your primary DPS, Venti as your primary support. You don't really have to put much into Barbara if you want her to be your primary healer. All you need to do is just build her with whatever scrap HP items you have, and she'll do that job just fine. You don't even really need to level those items until later when the heals start becoming less favorable. At that point, you could fill in the backside with an Elemental Mastery built Zhangling to give you good damage effectiveness for your reactions, and also energy recharge if you can get it for Venti. That will give you the best effectiveness from the characters that you've listed there, I think. Already rolled 20 summons on Venti banner. Will you get pity on Klee's at 70, or does it reset back to 90? Somebody said earlier tonight in the chat that it does reset back, or that it doesn't reset back, I'm sorry. So it sounds like the 20 that you have in on the Venti banner should persist. So you should be able to get Klee in 7 rolls. Well, actually, you'll be guaranteed to get whatever other 5-star possibly is on that roll. We don't know what other 5-stars are going to be included, but I assume it'll be the same as all the other ones. And then at the 181st, I think, is when you're guaranteed to get Klee. That's how the Venti one worked.
Fate is called as such, for it
Death Gun Gaming, you're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you.
It can only but be accepted.
For DPS Baidal, is it more good to use electro damage or attack on Goblet? So, Adita, the way I think Baidal is best served is filling in the gaps of like a mage. So that's kind of how I use her, right? So Mona has the kind of the downside, like all the other mages do, of having no non-elemental abilities. So if you have a character who cannot function as a non-elemental, that's a weak point. You want a secondary DPS to fill that weak point, so I would say no elemental damage bonus. Go straight attack so that it fills that gap. Love your videos, keep it up. Thank you, Tazel, I appreciate it, thank you. Trying to main Traveler, is it completely dumb to do? No. Animo Traveler is actually a very potent DPS. I don't know if you can make him main DPS easily, just because doing so will make his Animo, like Palm Vortex, hit kind of not very hard. But you can still do that with like weapons like Prototype Rancor and other attack-focused weapons. I think Prototype Rancor and a 4-piece Gladiator set will definitely make a Animo MC hit pretty hard, but again, his skills will not. So just be aware that it's a balancing act if you're doing that. His best role is definitely a primary support. He fills the same role that Venti does. Energy regeneration and elemental mastery are going to be the best roles that you're going to get from them.
Rid themselves of material desires.
Tomorrow Klee comes out. Should you try to roll for her having Diluc? I would say Klee is not going to be... Diluc is already a very good pyro character. Is Klee better in some situations? Yes. She still has the ability to break rocks and rock walls and a lot of the things that Diluc can break because she has bombs. So she functions in a lot of the same ways that he does, but Diluc can also function as a non-elemental attacker, so he has a little bit more flexibility than she does. I would say you already have good depth in pyro by extension of having him, so I don't know that I think it's I don't know if it's efficient to focus on her, but she's not going to hurt you if you get her. There's definitely going to be situations where she'll benefit you. You're at AR 38 and you can't find any chests anymore. How are you supposed to level up this way? You pretty much just have to do your dailies every day and also use your resin when you get it. As long as you do that, you will still get steady progress daily. Which reminds me, I meant to go kill the Geo boss one more time tonight and I completely forgot about that because I don't want to fill up my resin overnight. So I'm going to do that, and once I finish the Geo boss, I'm going to take off for the evening. So let's do that first. Pity transfers next banner. Who's better, Xiangling or Ningguang? They fill different roles, that other guy. If you have Xiangling, you want to build her as elemental mastery support. If you have Ningguang, I think her best role is as a straight damage dealer. So like attack and critical, depending on the weapons you have at your disposal. If you build her as a support attacker with elemental mastery, all it does is make her shields better, but she doesn't do very much damage in that situation. You like to main Mona with Oz from Fischl. Do you need to increase elemental mastery in Mona or Fischl? Does the Electro crit charged crit? So if Fischl is your secondary character, if she's your primary support to a primary Mona, then you want your elemental mastery on Fischl, not on Mona. As far as criticals for Electro charged, I am not certain about that. I want to say no, they don't, but I'm not absolutely positive about that. All right, let's get this boss going here. Is Favonius Warbow good for Venti? You have the stringless, but you use it for Fischl. Since she is your main DPS, what do you do? If you have the stringless, I would put that on Venti. I think the stringless is a better weapon for Venti than on Fischl, but it kind of depends on who your primary support character is. If your primary support character is Venti, then you want the stringless on him, and you can put the Favonius Warbow on Fischl. If Fischl's your primary DPS, then you want an attack-focused weapon on her with critical if you can get it. What element is strong against Animo? You know, I'm not really certain what... I don't know if there actually is an element strong against Animo. I hadn't really ever stopped to think about that. Weird. Off the top of my head, it's one of those things that makes it seem like it would be like fire or something, like pyro, but I don't think so. I really don't. I'm not sure. It might be one of the same. It might be the same situation that that Geo has, where Geo is strong against Geo. It might be the same. It might be literally that Animo is strong against Animo. In fact, just based on what we've seen with everything, I feel like that probably is what the case is. I think that that's probably what they've done. Thank you for this, man. Enjoying the stream so far. I'm glad, Quack. Thank you. I appreciate it. So I'm pretty much going to be wrapping up this stream as soon as I finish this boss off tonight. So if you guys got any final questions, now is definitely the time to get them in. He smacked me with that one. Had no stamina to dodge it. Who do you think takes the cake for best DPS? So in terms of strict numbers, it kind of depends on the situation. But from normals alone, my test revealed Mona to be the highest overall output DPS from normals. Klee was a very, very close second. Like almost inconsequentially close. Like very, 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 very close. But Klee has slightly better overall damage output from her elemental burst and skill damage. So you actually, I would have to say probably Klee is going to be your overall highest possible damage dealer. I prefer Mona because she adds a lot of depth for mobility though.
Shadows of fate. Written in the stars.
Do I think running Diluc and Klee can work with double Pyro bonus in a normal team? I do. Pyro has one of the better resonance options for that damage bonus. So it's kind of hard to go wrong with that. It's just there are situations, I did not mean to do that. There are situations where you'll be kind of like at a disadvantage because you don't have very good variety in your elements, right? So like that happens to me frequently enough with 2 Animo characters where I don't have a element at my disposal that will help me kill the shield of an enemy that I'm fighting. So it's one of those situations where, yeah, a lot of your interactions will be beneficial to you, but you'll have a lot of reactions that aren't so beneficial as well. Animo is kind of similar to Avatar because of the swirls. Yeah, I didn't really think of it that way, but yeah, I think you're right. Attack percent versus crit percent. Crit percent is going to be better if you can get high numbers in crit percent. If you can't get to the soft cap or close to the soft cap, then attack. If you can get to the soft crit or to the soft cap, then the crit numbers are going to be better for you. I can't believe he did that. I thought for sure he was just going to go ahead and spawn the post that time, and instead he didn't. Well, it's a good thing I pre-weakened those. If you get multiple Noelle, will I build it? Yeah, I would. I have only one constellation on my Noelle now, and I'm already working on building her just because I think that she's really underrated anyways. I shouldn't have done that. That was a waste. Damn. Didn't quite get away from that. Oh well. Oh, why did it go for the pillar? That's no good. Is Jean good? Yes, Jean, I feel strongly that Jean is one of the best characters in the game. She offers a lot of general utility from her healing. She can generate falling damage even in the absence of a cliff. And you can build her as an attacker and make her a better healer at the same time. So I really do think that Jean is one of the best characters in the game. Even as full strength, have 1600 power at level 70, full attack. My Baidal has over 17. I think she's getting close to 1800 attack now, but my Mona with like close to 1500 attack and 70% crit damage and 83% crit attack does a lot better damage than she does. Alright, hopefully some of these items will be solid enough to get by. Jean plus Klee feels OP. Yeah, Jean and Klee is a really potent synergy because she can pick up Jean can pick up Klee's bombs and throw them at enemies. It's one of the best things in the world when you do it for the first time. It's very satisfying. Solar Pearl or Winsith DPS Mona. Solar Pearl for sure, without a doubt. You'll definitely get better DPS overall with Solar Pearl as a primary DPS Mona. All right, well, I think that's going to be it for me tonight, guys. I really appreciate that all of you guys came in and checked out the stream tonight. Keep a lookout tomorrow for the lore video that's going to be coming out tomorrow. That's going to be Sucrose's Origins. I'm hoping to have out by midday, but it might push back an hour or two. We'll see. But I'm on the East Coast, remember, so I'm hoping to have it out somewhere between 12 and 14 hours from now. That's the goal. We'll see. Hopefully I can meet that goal, but if not, it should be tomorrow still sometime. Later in the week, hopefully early week, I'm going to have the next scale video out. I'll go ahead and tell you guys on the stream tonight that next scale video will be Klee. Originally it was going to be Jean, but since we know that it's going to be her the Klee banner, I'm going to go ahead and focus on it instead, and I'll get Jean afterwards. After that, I'm going to be going back into finishing up leveling up the Royal Grimoire and producing the Mona build guide, which will also have comparative numbers for the Eye of Perception, the Solar Orb, and the Royal Grimoire. If I somehow get lucky enough and get a Skyward Atlas, I will include that in there too, but it might just be something that I'll have to do at a later time. But everybody, thanks again for stopping in tonight, and have a good night.